Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Father and Son. Onping Calendar, Year 350. Su Clan. The moment Suyu entered, he could smell the fragrance of cooked dishes. Hence, after throwing his school bag down, he walked to the dining table and picked up a piece of braised meat with his hand, tossing it into his mouth. As he chewed, Suyu glanced at the kitchen and murmured, "Father, cook another type of soup tomorrow, so we won't get weary of eating meat. It's already very good that we have some things to eat. Stop being so picky." Su Long's grumbling voice rang out from the kitchen. "Say, you are already 18. When can you learn to take care of yourself? I, your father, acted as a father and mother and have taken care of you for so many years. I ought to be free now." Suyu continued chewing the braised meat as he laughed. "Father, your culinary skills are great, almost at the level of a master chef. I really want to cook for you too, but the thing is the meat will be so burnt that it's impossible to eat." "Heh." Su Long chortled. Very soon, Su Long, who had an apron on, walked out while carrying a dish. His figure was close to 1.9 meters tall, and his body was sturdy, filled with power. Because of that, the apron was a complete mismatch with him, and he looked exceptionally comical. Suyu nagged him about it every time and today was no exception either. Suyu shook his head and said, "Father, can you change to a larger apron? Our family doesn't lack the money to purchase one more apron." "What do you know?" Su Long couldn't be bothered. He then placed the dish on the table and didn't bother to take the apron off as he sat down. "Start eating. Every penny saved is a penny earned. In addition, this apron is new. You have been saying this for 3 years." Suyu rolled his eyes. This father of his was really capable of spewing bullshit. However, Su Long didn't mind it. He immediately started eating after he sat down, and his eating speed was as ravenous as wolves and tigers. Suyu was used to it, and he also didn't care about this. He then sat down as well and sighed while he ate. "Father, war is happening on the front lines again, right? I saw a soldier recruitment vehicle below when I returned earlier. Why did they come to a small district like ours to recruit soldiers? I wonder which military unit they are from." Upon hearing this, Su Long's eating movements turned slightly sluggish. He soon put his bowl and chopsticks down and spoke with a straight face, "Protecting the country is the responsibility of everyone. From the tone of your voice, you feel that being a soldier isn't good, huh?" "Nope." Suyu hurriedly made things clear. His father was a retired soldier, so he couldn't speak randomly. The palm of his father that resembled a bear's paw wasn't a joke. Hearing this, Su Long snorted lightly. Only then did he pick his bowl and chopsticks up to continue eating. As he ate, Su Long's mood also changed. He then spoke in a slightly lower voice, "Hey you, the front lines are in turbulence, and the various major armies have issued recruitment orders again and again. They want to recruit new soldiers and summon old soldiers back." Suyu's chopsticks that were in the midst of lifting a piece of food slowed. He then lifted his head and looked at his father. His expression was no longer as normal as before and he frowned. "Father, this has nothing to do with us, right? You have been discharged from the military 18 years ago. Also, I've just become an adult and still have to take the college examination. Even if the military wants to recruit soldiers, they won't target our family." 18 years. Su Long sighed. "I've been gone for 18 years. In addition to now, the number of times the Devil Suppression Army has recalled the old soldiers reached 5 times. And after one becomes 50 years old, they will never be recalled again. For the first 4 times, I was worried about you because you were still young. I was afraid you couldn't take good care of yourself, so I, your father, didn't answer the summons." Suyu's expression changed. "Father, no one in our family needs to go. This is something approved by the government policy." "Yup, it's allowed by the government policy. Su Long grinned. He then looked up and stared at his son. That's why I didn't go. I've been recalled 4 times in the past 18 years, but I didn't go. However, today, my son has become an adult. He's 18 years old. Father. Su Yu's expression completely changed. What do you want to say? You know what father wants to say. Su Long looked at his son and felt gratified and unrestrained. He smiled. 18 years ago, although your father was useless, I was still the captain of a small team in the Devil Suppression Army, and 30 men were under my command. At that time, your mother wanted to give birth, so I took leave to come back. Who would have known that, your mother would leave us just like this? You were just born and there were no other adults in the family who could take care of you, so I truly couldn't walk away. There's no solution. I've already quitted the army. Su Long gritted his teeth and smiled bitterly. When I left the Devil Suppression Army, not a single one from my team of brothers came to send me away. It wasn't that they hated me so much and wanted nothing more than for me to leave. Rather, they were afraid I wouldn't be able to endure it and wanted to be with them. For 18 years, no one contacted me for fear that I wanted to join them again. Even in my dreams, I could hear them shouting at me to go home and take care of my baby. My team of 30 men, during the first year I left, 9 of them died. Not a single one of them chose to leave after all these years. Do you know how many of the remaining 21 are left? All of them are still on the battlefield. Su Long's eyes grew red. I was selfish, so I didn't dare to ask them or check information related to them. For the previous 4 recalls, I didn't answer the summons. But this time, father is thinking that even if I die, I have to die fighting on the battlefield. Your father doesn't want to die cowering behind the protection of others. Su Yu fell silent. He knew that his father always wanted to be on the front lines. He always had his old band of brothers in his mind. Back then, if it wasn't for the fact that his mother passed away due to a difficult childbirth, his father wouldn't have left the Devil Suppression Army. However, Su Yu felt that since it had been 18 years, his father ought to have forgotten all these and let things go. But today, his father told him no. He couldn't let things go. Father. Su Yu's expression was unsightly and his countenance was a little pale. The turbulence in the front lines has intensified, and the number of deceased soldiers kept on increasing. In just 18 years, the military has sent 5 recall orders for old soldiers, doing so once every 3 to 4 years. You have been a soldier before and should know what this means. I have yet to get married, I have yet to enter a university, I have yet to give you a grandchild. Su Long gritted his teeth and smiled. No problem, father will wait. Don't tell me you think that I will send myself to death if I return. No, this daddy will return there for the sake of winning the war. Father. Brat, stop talking crap and eat. Su Long interrupted his son. As he ate, he mumbled, after finishing this meal, you will have to cook for yourself in the future. If you have no food ingredients, go out to eat at food shops. There's some money in the card, you know the password, right? The vehicle below is still waiting for me, I cannot delay things for too long. After you enter a high-grade academy, remember to write a letter to me. I will be able to receive it if there's time. Why don't you choose the Great Xia Civilization Academy? If you manage to enter, you will really make me proud. You should have a 90% chance of success. Your teachers have spoken to me before, and as long as there are no unexpected incidents, you will definitely be able to enter. A genius has finally appeared in our Su clan. How did you have such brains? You are just too smart to the point where I'm suspecting that you are not my true son, but fortunately, your appearance is very similar to mine when I was young. Su Yu's face was somewhat pale. But when he heard this, he involuntarily mocked, Father, are you sure you look similar to me when you were young? Of course, how can this be fake? Su Long lifted his head and showed his boorish face as he grinned. You can check with our neighbors to see if we look similar or not. Suyu was helpless, knowing his father was changing the topic. He then shifted the conversation back in the original direction. Father, it isn't that I'm looking down on you, but you are an old man who has stopped fighting on the battlefield for 18 years and you no longer cultivate. At your age, you are merely at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm. Would you be of any use even if you went? Who are you looking down on? Su Long angrily spoke, so what if I'm at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm? On the battlefield, one doesn't solely depend on martial strength. If one really wanted to only look at martial strength, there wouldn't be a need to fight a war ever. A battlefield contains all sorts of possibilities. Back then, this daddy was only at the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm, but I've killed an expert at the 10,000 stone realm before. Suyu was vexed, not knowing whether these words were true or not. However, his father had been saying this for many years, so the possibility of this being a lie was very low. The main point was that he didn't want his father to go to the front lines. The chaos on the front lines caused large casualties every year, and the situation was growing increasingly dangerous. Moreover, his father was someone close to 50 years old. If he returned to the battlefield now, so you didn't dare to think any further. Father. Shut up. Su Long interrupted. He then stood up and washed his bowl and chopsticks before speaking seriously. I've registered myself. If I don't return, I will be treated as an army deserter. It's fine if I haven't registered, but you should know the consequences of not returning after registration. Deserters are punished by death. Father, couldn't you have waited for me to return to discuss a little? Suyu was annoyed. He knew that there was already no way for him to change anything. Just like what his father said, it was fine if one didn't register. To these old soldiers, the military wouldn't recall them forcefully. Since these old soldiers could retire alive back then, it meant that they had some contributions on the battlefield. But once they registered, this meant that they had rejoined the army and were part of the military. So, if they didn't return, they would be treated as deserters. Discuss what? Su Long spoke in a disapproving tone. Don't worry, I won't die. Even if I really die, the compensation payment won't be little as well. You should remember to collect it yourself. It should be enough for you to marry and raise a kid. Your father has already considered everything for you. After speaking, Su Long carried his luggage that had long since been packed. He then removed the apron and carried his backpack. Do well in your exams. It's the same even if you support the human race from behind. When you join one of the civilization academies, remember to make the Su clan proud. Civilization academies, when this daddy returns to the army, I must make sure to brag that my son can enter it. You are much stronger compared to the descendants of those fellows. It's just that I won't be able to see the written notice. Next time, take a photo and send it to me with the letter. If not, those fellows will surely think that I am making an empty boast. Father. Suyu hurriedly stood up and chased after his father, feeling a little panicked and at a loss. His father was truly going to leave. In these 18 years, both he and his father were used to relying on each other. Today, his father suddenly wanted to leave, so he wasn't mentally prepared at all. You are an adult now and no longer a child. Stop acting childishly. Su Long chortled, if you haven't become an adult yet, father won't leave. But now, I have to go. 18 years ago, a few comrades in that team of mine were the same age as you now. You, do you know? I dreamt of them. I dreamt that they cried and said that it was very painful, and that they wanted to kill those bunch of bastards. Your father truly feels some regrets. Back then, those years ago, I should have sent you to the military center for the families of military personnel. In any case, there will be someone raising you. Su Long's eyes reddened. This is the 5th recall. In the previous 4 recalls, I've packed my luggage, but every time I looked at you, I became selfish. I felt reluctant to leave. This is the 5th time. Will there still be a next time? When I'm over 50, the Devil Suppression Army will no longer accept me. I'm leaving, this daddy is heading back to the All-Skies battlefield. This time around, your father will kill a few experts at the 10,000 stone realm for you to see. I will definitely keep the evidence so that you cannot rebut it. Su Long waved his hands in farewell and continued on his way. In the past 18 years, this was the first time Su Yu saw his father being so carefree and imposing. But, this was not what he wanted to see. Father. Don't talk nonsense anymore. Su Yu stood in front of the door and bit his lips. He suddenly howled, if you don't come back, I will become someone that marries into the clan of a female and change my surname, breaking the flow of incense to our Su clan's ancestors. If you don't mind it, I won't mind either. Su Long staggered and almost turned his head back to curse at his son. Now, he suddenly didn't feel like leaving anymore. He felt like returning home to beat this little brat up. This brat could truly keep his words and do what he said. It was tough for his Su clan to finally have a genius. If his son married into another clan and changed his surname, Su Long would definitely feel reluctant even if he died. Chapter 2. Chapter 2, for Academy System. Su Long eventually left, in a carefree manner at that. Yet, Su Yu felt empty within. His father left just like that, leaving no time for him to prepare. In one aspect, he was worried about his father's safety. But he was also worried about his life in the future. He was used to having his father's care, his father's company. Now that he was abruptly thrust into a world of his own, he truly couldn't get used to it. Father, you forgot to wash the bowls before you left. Su Yu nagged, trying to find joy in bitterness. He then sighed. There were things he truly didn't want to think about because he would involuntarily feel nervous if he thought about them. The All-Skies battlefield was incomparably dangerous. He was worried that if he continued thinking, he would chase after his father and drag him home. Civilization Academies. Su Yu also couldn't be bothered to wash the dishes. He sat on the sofa and fell into a daze. Before his father left, he nagged and told Su Yu to join the Great Xia Civilization Academy. In the past, Su Yu had indeed wanted to take the college examination for the Civilization Academies. However, now, if you didn't go to the All-Skies battlefield, I would join one of the Civilization Academies. But since you are so adamant about going to the All-Skies battlefield, how can I not worry about you? You might not be able to return even if you spend a few years there. Now, you want me to worry about you every day from the backlands? How old are you now? Don't you know how to think? Su Yu rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming. This is what you force me to do. In any case, you are no longer at home. I will not join the Civilization Academies, and I have to get into one of the War Academies no matter what. Su Yu gritted his teeth. Those from the Civilization Academies had it good. Their jobs were to decipher the culture of the myriad races, analyze the cultivation arts of the other races, and research their civilization. Any civilization researcher could safely stay in the backlands. There was no need for them to participate in the slaughter at the front lines. As for the war academies, the students there were being prepared and nurtured for the front lines. In the past, he had worked so hard to study the all races languages. Wasn't it to be able to safely stay in the backlands so he could accompany his father? But now, his aged father had actually run off to the dangerous All-Skies battlefield. If he really entered the Civilization Academies, there would be almost no chance for him to head to the front lines. Things were different for war academies. It was said that they would go to the All-Skies battlefield very often for their practical lessons. War academies, I need strength to pass their exams. It was one thing for Su Yu to think about it, but he still felt a little vexed. One couldn't simply join the war academies just because they wanted to. Strictly speaking, at the very least, it was more difficult compared to joining the Civilization Academies for him. The criteria for martial strength in the civilization academies wasn't high. However, it was different for the war academies. After all, the war academies were responsible for delivering experts to the front lines. Origin opening, 1,000 pound, 10,000 stone, this was the cultivation system of the human race. The bodies of humans were innately unsuitable for cultivation. Hence, one had to activate their origin opening 9 apertures before they could connect their meridians and energy channels, which would allow them to come in contact with origin chi and officially step on the path of cultivation. In origin opening, there were 9 apertures. The mouth, nose, eyes, and ears made up 7 apertures. The remaining 2 were the bai hui and shinkei, which corresponded to the acupoint at the crown of one's head and the acupoint at their navel. After opening the 9 apertures, one could then absorb origin chi to refine their bodies, strengthen their bones, and achieve a complete transformation, officially becoming a cultivator that had immense combat strength. I've just opened 3 apertures, which are my mouth and nose. There are no signs of my ears opening yet, so I'm still not at the 4th level. Like this, it isn't going to be so simple to join the war academies. Suyu mumbled. The war academies were established for the sake of nurturing experts. As their consumption was great, they definitely wouldn't waste resources on the weak. If one wanted to join, it was for the best if they had opened their ear apertures, which enabled them to reach the 5th level of the origin opening realm. Their chances of successfully joining would then be more assured. Naturally, if they had opened the apertures of their eyes and reached the 6th or 7th level, it was almost guaranteed that they would be able to join. For those with higher talent that had activated their shinkei and bai hui, the war academies would issue a direct invitation. For those people below 20 who had activated all 9 apertures, they could apply to join the war academies any time, and they would be accepted immediately. I've only opened 3 apertures. Suyu sighed. Opening 3 apertures weren't considered too bad. Naturally, it definitely couldn't be counted as very good either. In the Nanyuan mid-grade academy he was in, there were a total of 9 preparatory classes with 750 students. Of all of them, over 100 people were at the 3rd level of origin opening, and tens of them were above the 3rd level. According to the recruitment ratio of the war academies in this school, they would at most select not more than 20 people. This also meant that those in the 4th level would have a very high probability of being selected, while those in the 3rd level were a dime a dozen. Only one of them would be selected out of every 100. Moreover, war academies could be divided into the strong and weak ones, and the war academies that selected students at the 3rd level of origin opening wouldn't be that strong. If that was the case, he might as well choose a civilization academy to join. There are still 3 more months. War academies, let's see again at that time. Suyu gritted his teeth. Since his father was so unreliable, he naturally had to rely on himself more. Who would want to run to the all-skies battlefield no matter what at such an old age? Who? Suyu was once again shocked awake in the middle of the night. His head was drenched in sweat. It's that damnable dream again, father. Suyu subconsciously called out. In the past, when he woke up from a nightmare, his father would rapidly rush over. But when he called out today, there were no signs or noises from outside his room. Hence, Suyu's expression turned sluggish. Only now did he recall that his father had left in the afternoon. Ai. Suyu sighed. He then turned the lights on and glanced at a communicator. It was only 3 a.m., still very early. It has been over 10 years, but it has never stopped. He had the same dream for over 10 years, no matter who it was, no one could stand it. Hence, he could only get used to it. When he was younger, he almost died because he didn't dare to fall asleep. What sort of situation is this exactly? Suyu leaned against his bedhead and pondered over this question. He had been thinking about this question for many years. He had mentioned it to his father before, but his father was also helpless. If he went to the hospital to see a doctor, the doctor would say that a psychological shadow might have formed in his heart due to fear. The main point was that Suyu couldn't remember what he had been frightened by. It's the same thing every time. At the end of the dream, I was hunted to death by humans, by demons, by monsters. Suyu was vexed. He had the same dream every night, but it was not accurate to say that the details were exactly the same. He was being hunted down in his dreams every day, but the people hunting him were different. Or to put it even more accurately, some of the people basically weren't humans. There were all sorts of monsters, and although they seemed illusory, he could tell that they weren't the same type of life forms from their characteristics. Who had he antagonized exactly? He had been hunted down continuously in his dreams for over 10 years. There was definitely no one else like him. Back then, his father had guessed whether this was something done by the dream demon race's spells. However, this place was the human realm. If the dream demons had really cast a spell that lasted over 10 years here, they would have been killed by the experts in the human realm long ago. Moreover, if there really was a dream demon who barged into the human realm, its purpose would only be to target an expert. Wasting over 10 years on an ordinary human. If that other party wasn't an idiot, it would surely be a super idiot. It's endless, so annoying. Suyu mocked. He also didn't know when this unending cycle of dreams would end. Now, he was already somewhat used to it. If he couldn't get used to it, there was no need for him to think about living peacefully. Father said that after opening the 9 apertures and entering the 1,000-pound realm, one would be invulnerable to all illnesses and become untainted by all things insidious and evil, with origin chi refining one's body. At that time, I should be fine then. At this moment, Suyu could only place his hopes that his nightmares would end when he entered the 1,000-pound realm. As he contemplated, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, there was already bright light outside the windows. Dawn had arrived. Su Long had left, but Su Yu's life had to continue. Today wasn't a holiday, so he still had to go to the academy. After washing up and eating a simple breakfast, Su Yu lifted his bag and walked out of his home. Downstairs. A youth that sported a flat top was waiting downstairs. When he saw Su Yu coming down, he hurriedly shouted, "Hey you, I heard my father saying that yesterday, Uncle Su." Amen. Su Yu grunted even without waiting for him to finish. The flat top grew anxious. What's Uncle Su doing? How old is he already? By going to the all-skies battlefield, isn't he simply courting D? At this moment, he suddenly halted. He wanted to say that Su Long was courting death, but he couldn't say this to Su Yu's face despite feeling it was true. He went of his own will. I also couldn't stop him. Su Yu forcibly smiled. In addition, there are several millions of soldiers in the all-skies battlefield, along with many invincible experts of the human races guarding there. He won't get into trouble so easily. I know, but Uncle Su is merely at the 1,000-pound realm. The flat top was even more anxious than Su Yu. Experts of the 1,000-pound realm are very powerful to us, but they are considered the weakest lifeforms in the all-skies battlefield. The starting path of the soldiers from the various races there is already the 1,000-pound realm. I know. Hey you, why are you not anxious at all? The flat top felt very panicked for Su Yu's sake. If he was in Su Yu's shoes, he would have been crying and making a huge deal of noise. Is there any use if I'm nervous? Su Yu was helpless. His father had already left. At such a time, it would be useless no matter how anxious he felt. Go to school first, talk less nonsense. Go to school. The flat top spoke in shock. You still want to go to school? Su Yu glared at him until he felt somewhat embarrassed. You don't say. If I don't go to school, don't tell me I'm supposed to mope around at home and wipe my tears dry every day, waiting for bad news from the front line. Su Yu rolled his eyes. What nonsense was this fellow talking about? Go, let's go to school. A few days later, the school will have the examination name list for recommended universities. I want to go and register myself. I thought you have registered. Chen Hao looked at him strangely and said, have you forgotten that you went with me to register together last week? I know, but I registered for the civilization academies back then. This time, I want to register for the war academies. Chen Hao started. The war academies? I'm leaving. Su Yu no longer gave him any chances to speak nonsense. Yesterday, he had made his decision, so he still had to register and put his name on the list for the War Academy's examination. Whether he passed or not, that was another matter. Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy. At the registration venue. The teacher responsible for registration checked his information and spoke in a strange manner. Su Yu, didn't you already register to take the Civilization Academy's examination? You grasped 18 types of all races languages and can be considered among the top in our Nanyuan Academy. Even if you want to join the Great Xia Civilization Academy, you should have a 90% chance of passing. Why do you still want to choose a war academy? Usually, students who registered for 2 systems were unconfident in getting the choice they wanted. Hence, they had to have a fallback plan. Su Yu was intelligent and was willing to put in the effort, having managed to grasp 18 types of all races languages in these few years. With this result, even the most famous Great Xia Civilization Academy in Great Xia would open its doors for him. If it wasn't for this, Su Long wouldn't have been so sure that his son could join it before he left so suddenly. He had even specially reminded Su Yu to send him letters. Su Yu didn't explain too much. He smiled. Teacher, it's best to have a backup plan for the sake of cautiousness. I thought everyone can register for 2 systems. It would be good to have something to fall back to. That's true, but you truly don't have to do this. You just have to perform well in the exam. The teacher in charge of registration smiled. Our school has long since sent the name list of top students like you guys to the universities. Although we still need you to pass the exams, in truth, all of you guys already have files in the high-grade academies of Great Xia. Even if you flunk the exam, the other party might still give you a second chance. Upon hearing this, Chen Hao, who was at the side, exclaimed in envy. He couldn't help but speak. Teacher, is my name on the list? The teacher in charge of registration glanced at him and chortled. Yup, I've sent your file to the Internal Affairs Academies. Chen Hao's face crumbled. Internal Affairs Academies. The 4 academic systems were War, Civilization, Scientific Research, and Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs delved into life skills such as mechanical repairers, chefs, chauffeurs, executives, entertainment. All these were considered branches of Internal Affairs. Meanwhile, the War Academies nurtured experts, the Civilization Academies deciphered the civilization of the various races, and the Scientific Research Academies studied and developed weapons and pills. These 3 systems weren't bad. To these youths, they would only choose the Internal Affair Academies if they couldn't get into any of the other 3. The teacher in charge of registration then ignored him and helped Su Yu with his registration. He then laughed. Mainly, you still have to focus on the civilization system. During this period, it would be good if you could grasp 1 or 2 more languages. They would be helpful to you in the future. As for cultivation, don't be in a hurry. It's enough for those in the civilization academies to cultivate to the 1,000-pound realm in the future, being invulnerable to all illnesses. The civilization academies didn't require one to have strong combat strength. This teacher was also worried that Su Yu might walk on the wrong path currently. Su Yu smiled and nodded, not rejecting the suggestion. After all, his teacher reminded him out of goodwill. However, during this period, he was going to place more focus on his cultivation. Chapter 3. Chapter 3, All Races Atlas. Outside the registration venue. Su Yu walked a few steps but suddenly turned his head and spoke with astonishment. Why are you following me? Chen Hao was at a loss. Are we not going to school? I'm not going. Not going, then what are you going to do? Chen Hao felt very wronged. Library. Suyu calmly said, I don't need to attend the other classes. The teachers have agreed that it doesn't matter if I don't attend classes, but as for you, if you don't go, you best prepare for your parents to be invited to a school meeting with them. Too heartrending. Chen Hao covered his face and ran away. That was right. Suyu no longer needed to attend classes as the teachers permitted him to do so. But it was different for him. As for cultivation classes, it was already sufficient for Suyu to open 3 apertures, and the teachers didn't expect him to register for the war academies either. Naturally, no one would urge him to go and cultivate. Staring at Chen Hao leaving, Suyu shook his head and smiled. Chen Hao's father was an old friend of his father, and this fellow was also classmates with him. They could be considered good buddies. However, this fellow was raucous and boring. If this guy followed him, he would definitely have a headache. In the library. The administrator was very familiar with Suyu. Suyu would come here often to read, and the duration of his stay would often be half a day. After a few years, it was impossible even if he didn't want to become familiar with Suyu. Suyu, you have grasped over 10 all races languages. Why are you not relaxing but still studying so hard? The administrator teased. Suyu was considered a person of some fame in the Nanyuan mid-grade academy. Many students, other than having to grasp the necessary immortal devil language, demon language, and common language, wouldn't have the spare energy to study other languages. However, Suyu had mastered several languages. Suyu smiled in response but didn't say anything. After he entered the library, Suyu directly headed to the 3rd level. Right now, it was class time, so the library was almost empty. Other than a few teachers who were checking information, there were basically no other students. Many of the students would rather cultivate assiduously than face all these undecipherable scribblings. If the problems could be solved by martial strength, these youths naturally wouldn't be bothered to use their brains. The few teachers here saw Suyu, but no one greeted him. Everyone was used to the quietness here and was immersed in their own worlds. Suyu also didn't greet anyone. He walked with great familiarity toward a bookshelf that he visited the most. He scanned through the books and soon took one out. This was an all-races atlas. The human race gathered the information of different races that had appeared and made them into an illustrated book, providing them to all of humanity to learn and understand. Naturally, this was merely one of the many books. The All Races Atlas wasn't just a single book but a series of books. As for how many there were exactly, Suyu had no idea. Some of them were specially concealed and only provided to a certain group of people with special privileges. The Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy only had 39 of those books, speaking about 39 races. The atlases contained many things. For example, the appearance, habits, customs, languages, even some unique cultivation arts of the different races, their combat method, and how they kill, everything was described. At this moment, what Suyu wanted to understand wasn't this. He flipped to the title page because the title page would contain an illustration of the race that the particular atlas was written for. Blue fish sounded like part of the fish species but was actually not in reality. He had opened the atlas and stared at the picture. It was a species that resembled an ox. But not completely. The blue fish's tail looked like the tail of a snake, and it also had a pair of wings. Why was it called blue fish? It was said that blue fish was an amphibian-type life form, so it could live in water or the sea as well. In water, its combat strength was even stronger compared to when it was on land. As for its wings, it didn't represent that it could fly. The wings resembled chicken wings and could only aid it to glide slightly, unable to grant it true flight. The flesh of blue fish can be eaten to dispel poison. It's a holy treasure for detoxifying poison. It dwells in the D mountain realm which is filled with hills and water. The blue fish hibernates in winter and wakes in summer, and it would roam the D mountain realm when it's awake. We have to be extremely cautious because the degree of danger is very high. The stance of the all-skies battlefield is neutral. It is forbidden to kill them for no reason. Suyu simply read through. Actually, he had read this information before. However, he had never learned the Lu fish language. The language of this race was very difficult because it was too niche. Also, the Lu fishes weren't the kings of the D Mountain realm. What he wanted to see wasn't this information but the illustrated picture instead. Lu fish. Suyu mumbled as he recalled last night's nightmare. The thing that hunted him last night, was it a Lu fish? When he dreamt while he was younger, he actually wouldn't think too much about it. But after so many dreams, in addition to him becoming more mature, he would attempt to analyze the dream realm to see if there was any information worth checking. What were those monsters who were hunting him exactly? Did they exist in reality? During these years, others thought he was a genius and was willing to put in the effort to study the all races' languages, mastering 18 of them. His hard work caused people to sweat when they heard of it. But the reality wasn't so. Suyu only worked so hard because of his dreams. Hence, he paid more attention to the various races in the world. He would often check all sorts of information for the sake of understanding more. This was why he would put in so much effort to learn the languages and texts of the various races. The dream realm is too blurry, so I cannot be sure if that was a Lu fish. However, I think I saw a similar pair of wings on the monster in my dream, and its cry sounded like an ox as well. Suyu silently mumbled. Because the dream realm was very blurry, he couldn't be sure as well. However, during these few years, he had found some information. Sometimes, he would discover some special characteristics of the monsters in the dream realm, and they did match the 10,000 races of all skies. By this conjecture, Suyu felt that he hadn't guessed wrongly. The monsters hunting him in his dream were the myriad races of all skies. Over 10 years, 4,500 nights. At the very least, he had dreamt of several thousand monsters before. If they weren't monsters from the various races, could it be that there were still unknown lifeforms in this world? You guys truly give me a lot of face, all of the races are hunting me in my dreams. Suyu bitterly smiled in his heart. They were really giving him too much face. Very soon, Suyu gritted his teeth. Suyu still didn't understand. If he had seen such races or interacted with them before, he could still accept it. But he had never left Nanyuan City in his life and had at most read the information about some races in books. Why would he have a connection with these monsters? After roughly ascertaining the race of the monster in his dream last night, Suyu returned the book to its original location. For some things, he couldn't get to the bottom of them currently. Very soon, Suyu left this bookshelf. This time, he came to the library not only to confirm the matter about the Lu fish. There was another matter. A moment later, Suyu went to another area in the library, the origin opening area. Books in this area were all about questions regarding cultivation in the origin opening realm. The start of the human race's cultivation mainly focused on. Although one couldn't feel origin chi if they didn't open their 9 apertures, origin chi still existed. They could absorb a small trace of origin chi to refine their bodies and gradually open their 9 apertures before stepping into the 1,000-pound realm to train their bodies. The process of opening the 9 apertures was a long one. Humans would start training in the at a very young age, and it was a process where one made steady progress incrementally. It was also the survival of the fittest. Geniuses would be able to advance swiftly at this time. With a strong cultivation aptitude, they would naturally be faster compared to others. Suyu wasn't a cultivation idiot. He had read many such books and also knew that the main point of the origin opening realm was to allow nature to take its course. One wouldn't be able to swiftly break through just by assiduously cultivating. However, Suyu still wanted to do a check today to see if there were any methods that could allow one to cultivate faster. He did a search but didn't manage to find the books he wanted. He then frowned slightly. Could it be that there was no information pertaining to this? If this was so, his chance of breaking through to the fourth level of the origin opening realm before the examination wouldn't be great. Suyu, what are you looking for? At this moment, a short-haired girl who was reading at the side couldn't help but ask. She had been here for a very long time and had been reading throughout. She was also acquainted with Suyu. Although they weren't from the same class, these people who were fond of visiting the library would know each other somewhat after a long time. Suyu revealed an apologetic look. He had disturbed her from her reading. I wish to find some cultivation records about how to increase cultivation speed for the origin opening realm, but I failed to find any. Increase cultivation speed? The short-haired girl mumbled softly. She then spoke, there are some methods to increase cultivation speed, but the human race isn't suggested to use these external methods in the origin opening realm. The origin opening realm is the foundation, and the opening of the 9 apertures is the process of laying your foundation. Stability is everything. After all, origin opening, this is the realm where you open the path of cultivation. Suyu, did you not register for civilization academies? They won't test you on these things. By looking for such records, are you planning to increase your cultivation speed? The girl then continued with some worry in her tone, you cannot rush your foundation building or mishaps might happen easily. Even if you smoothly open your apertures, rushing hastily will surely impact you negatively in the future. Suyu smiled. I know. I'm not stupid. I only want to see if there are some safer methods. If there are none, I will forget about it. Oh. The girl pondered before pointing to the lowest level of books at a certain corner. There are a few books regarding the information you are looking for over there. However, some of the methods they described are very extreme. Suyu, it's best that you don't try them out, or things might be very troublesome. You might even die. At the start of the Anping dynasty, some humans tried these methods before. But since time and tides waited for no man back then, they could only do it blindly. Sadly, none of those seniors managed to step onto a path of invincibility. Instead, because they rushed the process of origin opening when they were young, they all died at an early age. Thanks, I understand. Suyu smiled and nodded. This female student was named Luyu, a student in the top preparatory class. Suyu wasn't that familiar with her, but he knew that she would often come to the library to read. It was said that she had also grasped many all races languages. But as to how many exactly, Suyu wasn't clear on that. He didn't like to ask about such matters. If there were no accidents, Luyu should have registered for civilization academies as well. Hence, she wouldn't care about raising her cultivation base. After that, Suyu didn't continue chatting with Luyu. He soon found those books in the corner that Luyu had pointed at. Chapter 4. Chapter 4, Methods to Speed Up Origin Opening. Suyu quickly flipped the open. In the end, the title page immediately caused him to be speechless. A row of large words written in red could be seen there. The methods of speeding up cultivation do indeed work but don't take into account life and death. The vast majority of those who tried it died. Suyu bitterly smiled. He found it unreliable the moment he looked at it. No wonder, the teachers would all urge them not to be hasty during the origin opening realm and walk on the wrong road. Method 1, bathe in the blood of powerful gods or devils. Gods and devils will innately have 9 apertures open since their birth, and their bodies are filled in abundance in origin chi. Their blood contains large amounts of origin energy. Consequences, body explosion. Case study, during the 9th year of Anping, the son of Great Ming Prefecture Lord bathed in the blood of gods and devils, wanting to rapidly open his 9 apertures. During that day, he succeeded in opening 9 apertures instantly, but on the same day, he died from a body explosion. He was only 9 years old when he died, but he had successfully entered the 1,000-pound realm. Suyu gritted his teeth. There were even case studies. It seemed that this book was not talking nonsense. The son of a prefecture lord during the 9th year of Anping dynasty. This meant that this was the direct son of the great Ming king, who had founded the great Ming prefecture. If even someone like him died, this was simply too dangerous. Moreover, how could it be so easy to obtain the blood of gods and devils? In the all-skies battlefield, gods and devils were two of the strongest major races. It was said that the weakest among them at the all-skies battlefield was at the 10,000 stone realm. It was almost definite that the great Ming king's son could only obtain this blood due to his father killing some gods and devils. Let alone the fact that this idea was not feasible, even if it was, it had nothing to do with Su Yu. My father is not the great Ming king. Su Yu murmured. Who was the great Ming king? He was an invincible expert that founded the great Ming prefecture and was one of the pillars of humanity. As for how powerful he was, Su Yu couldn't tell. In any case, he was so strong to the extent that Su Yu didn't need to think about it. He discarded the first method and continued reading. However, his frown deepened as he read. Method 2, devour the demon race's flesh. A portion of the demon race's flesh and blood can aid one in opening apertures. Consequences, body explosion. Case study, in the initial years of Anping dynasty, the human race established their dominance, and their experts hunted the demons, returning with the demon corpses. A great number of humans then feasted on their flesh and blood. Some of them exploded, but a minor portion of humans managed to rapidly open their 9 apertures. Note, these people are extremely few in number, and according to the statistics, the flesh and blood of the demons that aid in aperture opening consist of the Golden Rock race, Barbaric Ox race, Sky Tiger race. Discarded. Su Yu rapidly gave this idea up. Stop joking, the listed demon races were all incomparably powerful ones among the myriad races. Although they weren't as powerful as the God race and Devil race, they weren't races he could come in contact with. Method 3, Sky Origin Fruit, a heavenly ingredient. The Sky Origin fruit accumulates Sky Origin Qi from the beginning of the myriad worlds. It's hugely beneficial to open the 9 apertures. Location, Divine Realm, Devil Realm, Demon Realm. These powerful worlds can produce them, but they are very limited in number. Case study, during the 25th year of Anping, the son of the great Zhou king consumed a Sky Origin fruit and opened 9 apertures 3 days later. There are temporarily no side effects. Su Yu gritted his teeth. The son of the great Zhou king, it seems that the great Zhou king only has a single son. Could he be Zhou Patian, the current great Zhou prefecture lord? He had never heard of this treasure before. Clearly, it was a heavenly ingredient of the highest order. Zhou Patian was still alive now and had also become the great Zhou prefecture lord. Evidently, he was incomparably mighty. Even if the human race had Sky Origin fruits in their possession, it would never be Su Yu's turn to consume one. This was one of the top-grade strategic resources. Method 4. Su Yu continued reading, but the more he read, the more alarmed he felt. As expected, cultivation at the origin opening realm didn't have many external methods that could aid it. No wonder the teachers had never mentioned methods of speeding up cultivation at all. These methods either required one to use the powerful gods and devils' blood or consume heavenly ingredients. In addition, most of them had side effects. Method 9, find a place where origin Qi is in abundance. The distribution of origin Qi in the myriad realms is uneven. There are places with sparse origin Qi and places with an abundance of origin Qi. In the origin opening realm, one will passively refine the 9 apertures, and the speed of passive refinement depends on the density of origin Qi. Note, Holy Land with abundant origin Qi includes the all-skies battlefield, secret realms and academies, holy lands in the human realm. After seeing this method, Su Yu snapped back to full attention. Land with an abundance of origin Qi. Actually, those in the origin opening realm couldn't sense the existence of origin Qi, but he also knew that Nanyuan City wasn't a place with an abundance of origin qi. I heard of this method before. The more major a city is, the more holy it is. One's cultivation speed would become quicker there. This should have something to do with the abundance and sparseness of origin qi. The teachers in Nanyuan wouldn't mention this because it would be meaningless even if they told the students about this method. It wasn't so easy to relocate oneself in this era. In that case, if I could go to a major city or some holy lands in secret realms, I would be able to safely increase my cultivation speed. However, the increase wouldn't be too much. It wouldn't reach the efficiency of the few methods above. An abundance of origin qi would only increase one's cultivation speed slightly. It was different from those few methods listed above that could allow one to succeed in a single leap. But even so, Suyu still felt some yearning. Sadly, for the holy lands listed in this book, he couldn't even go to a single one. There was no need to talk about the all-skies battlefield. As for the secret realms and academies, he heard that high-grade schools did possess them. But he didn't know the specifics. As for holy lands in the human realm, there was no need to mention them. Method 10, Origin Qi Liquid. Origin Qi liquid can be classified as something that appears naturally or is artificially created by humans. In the lands with an abundance of origin qi in the all-skies myriad realms, they can produce some origin qi liquid. When the density of origin qi becomes thicker, origin qi liquid will form. However, it is extremely rare. The artificially produced one is something formed by experts at the soaring realm after they condense their origin qi. The effect of the artificial liquid is similar to the liquid produced in the lands that have an abundance of origin qi. There was no need to think about natural formed ones, but for the artificial ones, the prerequisite was the soaring realm. Suyu bitterly smiled again. What was the soaring realm? The 1,000-pound and 10,000-stone realm was still a realm where one strengthened their body. Suyu didn't have much understanding of the soaring realm, but he knew that it was a cultivation realm above the 10,000-stone realm. In that realm, humans would be capable of flight and could conquer the air. The soaring realm was a huge transformation. In this vast Nanyuan city, was there anyone in the soaring realm? Maybe some, for example, the Nanyuan city lord. But were these people at a level that Suyu could interact with? In Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy, the strongest person was the academy head who had just entered the 10,000-stone realm. If experts at the 10,000-stone realm could condense this liquid, given the personality of the academy head, Suyu might still be able to get 1 or 2 drops if he went to beg. But the crucial point was that the academy head couldn't condense it. There's not a single reliable method. Suyu mocked. No wonder this book was tossed to a corner. To people like Suyu, the methods listed within were impossible to achieve. The simplest method might be for him to go to a land with an abundance of origin qi or acquire origin qi liquid. However, even the lowest grade of origin qi liquid could only be produced by experts at the soaring realm. The distance of that realm to the current Suyu was incomparably far. 18 years ago, his father was already at the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm. During these years, because the origin qi in Nanyuan wasn't abundant, in addition to the fact that his father no longer had access to military resources, his father was only at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm now. Even so, his father could be considered a strong character in Nanyuan City. Naturally, his father didn't have such thoughts. Before he returned to the army, he was a supervisor in the traffic supervision headquarters and lived a relaxed life. If it wasn't to take care of Suyu, given Su Long's cultivation base that was at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm, it wouldn't be a problem for him to occupy an important position in Nanyuan City. These are all useless. Suyu flipped through the books again and swiftly returned several of them back to their original locations. He contemplated and walked toward Lu Yu. He then revealed an apologetic expression. Lu Yu, can I bother you for a little while? Hearing this, Lu Yu placed the book in her hands down and looked at Suyu. She laughed softly. Speak. During these few years, I didn't pay too much attention to cultivation. Do you know of the Origin Qi liquid? You want to purchase Origin Qi liquid? Lu Yu was immediately enlightened. The books Su Yu read were introduced by her, so she naturally had read them before as well. Origin Qi liquid, one of the strategic resources. There are no channels in Nanyuan City that allow you to purchase them. However, there are some channels in the Great Xia Prefecture. You have to register with your real name if you want to purchase it. There are many types of Origin Qi liquid. Experts of different cultivation realms produce different Origin Qi liquids. Naturally, to people in the Origin opening realm, the liquid produced by those in the soaring realm is the most suitable. This is because such Origin Qi liquid is the cheapest among the different types of Origin Qi liquids. The Origin Qi isn't condensed enough, and this is actually beneficial to opening apertures. If the Origin Qi liquid is too saturated, it will actually be easier to injure oneself upon consumption. But, the price isn't low. Even experts of the soaring realm require 3 days to condense a single drop. In addition, they have to cultivate as well and need Origin Qi. Unless they truly lack money, very few of them will be willing to spend the time to condense Origin Qi liquid. Lu Yu looked at Su Yu. Su Yu, you really shouldn't purchase it. It's too wasteful. In addition, Origin Qi liquid can only increase the density of Origin Qi and won't allow you to succeed in opening apertures with a 100% success rate. I understand, thanks. How much does a drop of Origin Qi liquid produced by soaring realm experts cost? Su Yu naturally knew it wouldn't be cheap, but he still wanted to ask. After all, when his father departed, he did leave a sum of money for Su Yu. More accurately, all the savings of his family was currently in Su Yu's hands. Because going to the All-Skies battlefield was too dangerous, Su Long was worried he might not be able to return. 100,000 Anping coins. Su Yu's heart was clenching. 100,000 coins for a single drop. His father was at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm and his monthly salary was merely 5,000 Anping coins. Moreover, it already wasn't considered too low. Other than their family expenses and some cultivation resources his father needed, it was already not bad for them to have 2,000 to 3,000 coins remaining every month. During these years, Su Long had saved plenty of money for his son to get married. There was roughly 300,000 in his savings. But, all his net worth was only enough to purchase 3 drops of Origin Qi liquid? No wonder Lu Yu would say it was too expensive. This wasn't wasting money, it was burning money. Staring at Su Yu's expression, Lu Yu involuntarily laughed. I told you it would be expensive and it's truly too much of a waste. Actually, I used a drop before and it could roughly sustain 3 days' worth of dense Origin Qi. The effect was pretty ordinary. I stopped using after that one drop. It's too extravagant. If the effect is really very strong, there shouldn't be a problem for the school to take out money to purchase it for usage. But how many people have you seen using it before? 3 days isn't enough time for you to open an aperture. Since that's the case, you will have to continue buying and you will spend 200,000 in 6 days, 300,000 in 9 days, who can withstand such expenditure? Su Yu bitterly smiled. I understand, it's really too expensive. If I can definitely open an aperture by using it, that will still be alright. But if I fail to open an aperture, it will truly be wasting money. No wonder all the teachers said that there's no external aid that can help one to improve cultivation speed in the Origin opening realm. Yup. Lu Yu smiled. Anyway, you don't need this for the examination. Why do you want to buy Origin Qi liquid? I wish to register for the war academies so I can have a backup plan. Su Yu explained simply. After that, he smiled and bade her farewell, no longer continuing to chat. This place was the library and not a place for chatting. At this moment, Lu Yu furrowed her brows as she watched Su Yu departing. She felt a little curious. He wanted to register for war academies. Why would Suyu want to join a war academy out of the blue? She shook her head lightly and no longer thought about it. It was useless even if he went to register. In the future, all of them should be students of the Great Xia Civilization Academy. She could only hope that this fellow wouldn't mess around. Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Dream Realm. He didn't find a suitable method to increase cultivation speed in the library, but Suyu wasn't disappointed. If it was so commonplace, the school would have mentioned it. He had merely hoped just in case, but the truth proved that he had overthought things. Since this was the case, he could only continue to cultivate the assiduously. He ate his lunch in school. After that, when he returned home at night and saw the empty house, Suyu fell silent. His father was not around and the atmosphere at home instantly became much colder. In the past when he returned home from school, his father would have finished cooking and waited for him to eat together. Now that the house was so empty, Suyu was a little unused to it. As Suyu wasn't in the mood to cook, he leaned against the sofa and turned on the television. He then fell into a daze, and the television sounds filled the background. There weren't many channels to surf on the television. In the Great Xia Prefecture, one could at most search for the Great Xia television station and very few other channels. Because of the All Skies battlefield and other battlefields' influence, the signal coverage was very weak and it was hard to broadcast stuff. So usually, one would only be able to search for channels that were specific to the prefecture they were in. Recently, the Great Xia Prefecture has discovered some traces of the All Races sect. If you discover any suspicious characters, please report them to your local wind arrest hall in a timely manner. Trash. After hearing the news report, Suyu couldn't help but scold in a low voice. A bunch of trash. When the War of All Skies erupted, although the human race could block enemy races, the human race wasn't considered too powerful among the myriad races. Hence, there would always be some trash that had different intentions during such a time, choosing to surrender and ally themselves with other races. The All Races sect wasn't a sect. Rather, it was a group of human trash that had submitted to different races. These people gathered together and created chaos among humans. Suyu was influenced by his father from a young age, so he was filled with extreme loathing for trash like these people. He lifted his head and looked at the television. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a squarish face, who was clad in red battle robes, had a demeanor that made him seem imposing without being angry. He appeared on the television screen. This middle-aged man had a cold and stern look on his face. His voice was like ice as he hollered, "Behead." Pooh! At the next instant, over 100 people knelt on the ground on the television screen. Behind them, a group of armored guards chopped down with their blades and instantly severed their heads. Everyone from the All Races sect will be killed each time we catch one. The middle-aged man was incomparably cold. His vision swept forward and his aura was so great that it seemed like he could walk out from the television screen. He icily spoke, "Daring to come to my Great Xia means death to all of you. From today onward, the Longwu guards will patrol the Great Xia Prefecture and clean the trash of the All Races sect. If you guys are not afraid of death, don't leave the Great Xia Prefecture. I want to see how many dog heads we can behead." On the sofa, Suyu suddenly felt a little excited. Xia Longwu. The Prefecture Lord of Great Xia. As for the beheading incident, he wasn't bothered. Everyone was used to it as there would frequently be such scenes appearing on television. The only method humans used to deal with the All Races sect was beheading after capturing them. They would behead people to the extent where no one dared to rebel anymore. This government policy was enforced extremely strictly. Public executions could awe and shock everyone, causing those who had such thoughts to discard them. However, Suyu didn't care about this. What he cared about was Xia Longwu. This Great Xia Prefecture Lord was extremely overbearing and powerful. 20 years ago, this Prefecture Lord commanded the Devil Suppression Army, the army Suyu's father was in, on the All Skies battlefield. He was none other than Su Long's top superior. During these years, every time Su Long saw Xia Longwu appearing, he would be incomparably excited and drag Su Yu along, pointing to the television as he said, "This is your father's old leader." Back then, he swept unchallenged through the all-skies battlefield, no one could stand against him. He slaughtered the army from the myriad races so badly that they discarded their armor and fled. As time passed, even Su Yu was somewhat influenced. He felt a little worship toward this expert who could slaughter out a path of blood in the all-skies battlefield. When can I ever become as strong as the great Xia prefecture lord? How good would that be? Su Yu felt some yearning. This was a true expert. Currently, none of the prefecture lords were weak. However, Xia Longwu was considered someone who stood at the peak among the prefecture lords. But the main point wasn't this. Su Yu had no idea who the strongest prefecture lord was, but he knew that Xia Longwu wasn't considered old. He was merely 60 plus. The other prefecture lords, for example, the powerful Zhou Patian from the Great Zhou Prefecture was a character from the time when Anping was founded. This meant that Zhou Patian was already over 300 years old. 20 years ago, Xia Longwu was merely 40 plus years old, yet he already controlled the Devil Suppression Army. This was the part of which Su Yu was most envious. How strong! Merely 40 plus in age. In this era, that was considered extremely young. How much strength did one need to control the Devil Suppression Army? Su Yu didn't know this, but he knew that Xia Longwu was extremely impressive. This position wasn't something he had obtained just because his grandfather was the great Xia king. Among the prefecture lords were the sons of the various kings who had founded their respective prefectures, but they weren't so powerful. Xia Longwu. Longwu War Academy. Longwu Guards. Su Yu licked his lips and his throat felt a little parched. After all, for young people, who hadn't felt hot-blooded before. Had he never thought of joining a war academy? He naturally had. There were many high-grade war academies in the Great Xia Prefecture. Among them, the Great Xia War Academy had a history of over 300 years. This was the oldest and strongest war academy in the Great Xia Prefecture. However, right now there was another peak-grade war academy in Great Xia. The Longwu War Academy. This was a war academy named after Xia Longwu and founded 15 years ago. In the short span of 15 years, it became one of the highest-graded academies in the Great Xia Prefecture. Moreover, more than half of the graduates from that place joined the strongest army in the Great Xia Prefecture, Longwu Guards. It was said that the Nanyuan city lord had come from the Longwu Guards. From this, one could see how extraordinary that army was. Although his father Su Long was from the Devil Suppression Army, he had wanted to join the Longwu Guards after he retired and continue to follow his old leader. Sadly, the Longwu Guards didn't accept him. He was too old and too weak. Hence, they didn't want him. Chapter 6. Chapter 6, Dream Realm, 2. This had made Su Long so angry that he wanted to curse. Naturally, he wasn't cursing Xia Longwu but rather at those recruiters. Why wouldn't they take him? Right now, it was said that Nanyuan City also had a small team of Longwu guards stationed there. No one knew if it was true or false, but at the very least, Su Yu hadn't met those people before. Great Xia War Academy, Longwu War Academy. The Great Xia Academy mainly provides generals and soldiers to the frontline, and it's very difficult to return again. But as for the Longwu Guards, Su Yu's gaze flickered. The Longwu War Academy was mainly the reserve force for the Longwu Guards. The people from the Longwu War Academy would also go to the front lines and their treatment was the same as the other war academies. However, there was a benefit for the Longwu Guards. Their main mission was to protect the land. In other words, they would stay in the Grand Xia Prefecture most of the time. Naturally, once war erupted, as crack troops, the Longwu Guards would immediately enter the all-skies battlefield. If one said that the Devil Suppression Army was the standing army of the All-Skies battlefield, the Longwu Guards would be the field army. They have fewer restrictions and greater autonomy. However, once war erupts, they will be fighting in the most dangerous assault and counterattack operations. If I really want to join a war academy, I should join the Longwu War Academy. Su Yu muttered to himself. It was a pity that it was even more difficult to join the Longwu War Academy. Because the Longwu War Academy was the military reserve force for Longwu Guards, their requirement for strength was slightly higher compared to the Great Xia War Academy. Hence, Su Yu rubbed his cheeks and smiled bitterly. He must be fantasizing. Even ordinary war academies would be tough to enter for him, let alone the Longwu War Academy. Why was he thinking so much? The All-Races sect actually dared to come to the territory of Great Xia, they must be courting death. Since the Longwu Guards have been mobilized, I wonder if we can see them here at Nanyuan. Su Yu wasn't too worried. Those fellows from the All-Races sect had to hide in the shadows and wouldn't dare to reveal themselves out in the open. They could only do some minor tricks secretly. Right now, the Longwu Guards were patrolling Great Xia, so those fellows would hide even deeper than rats. How would they even dare to show their faces? Even if they really did show their faces, Su Yu wasn't afraid. Right now, almost everyone was a cultivator. In small districts, there might not be any experts in the 10,000 stone realm, but plenty of them were in the 1,000-pound realm. In this area, other than old soldiers like his father who returned to serve the army, some didn't respond to the summons, and some were over the age limit. Hence, even if several fellows from the All-Races sect came, they would merely come here to die. Since those old soldiers could leave the battlefield alive, how could they not be ruthless characters with blood on their hands? They wouldn't even blink if they killed someone. With a single shout, 7 to 8 experts at the 1,000-pound realm could appear immediately. After Su Zhu finished watching the television, he cooked a simple meal of noodles and ate them. He then washed up and cultivated a few times before heading to bed early. If he didn't sleep early, he would wake early due to the dreams and have insufficient sleep. Right now, Su Yu had already grasped a piece of information. He would usually have the dreams very early in the morning. Moreover, as he slept the best before midnight, he had to cherish the time. Nightfall. Darkness was everywhere. Inside the dream, a scene that had occurred countless times appeared once again. A flying creature that was incomparably huge was currently hunting Su Yu. Fuck. Su Yu hated flying races the most. They flew extremely fast and he wasn't able to outrun them no matter what. It was generally alright if he encountered land-based creatures. Sometimes, he actually had the chance to flee and there was no need for him to be chewed on by the monsters. However, against flying monsters, he had never succeeded in escaping. Every single time, he would wake up in pure agony from being chewed into pieces. Hence, he hated these flying fellows. This time around was no exception as well. The giant flying creature's speed was extremely quick. In his dream, land-based obstructions had no effect on the flying creature, so the distance between them grew increasingly closer. Su Yu fled with great speed while turning his head back for a look. He wanted to identify whether he recognized this flying creature or not. Amen. There were many types of flying races, and Su Yu only knew slightly more than 10 types. But this time around, he was very familiar with what he saw. Although the monster was very illusory, he could faintly see a wart above the giant head. This is, a monster from the iron-wing bird race. Damn, after so many years, I finally met something I'm familiar with. At this moment, Su Yu was somewhat excited. He knew 18 types of all races languages, but this didn't represent that he had encountered those races before in his dreams. He would only learn the particular language if he faintly felt that the monsters were somewhat familiar looking and that there were people in the Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy who knew the language. However, although he had never met the iron-wing bird race before, he knew their language. Their language was one of the 18 ones he knew, and some people in the Nanyuan Academy also knew it. This was because, in the all-skies battlefield, gods and devils would tame birds of this race and use them as their air force. Suyu hurriedly turned his head and roared. The giant flying bird didn't reply. It was as though it didn't hear anything, and it continued to fly over. There was still no reply. Suyu silently cursed. He knew he was dead when he saw the giant flying bird stretching its talons out and swooping over. This should really be an iron-wing bird, but it seemed that it had no intelligence. After all, it was merely an illusory shadow in his dream. Gotcha. As expected, intense pain surged from his head as Suyu's head exploded from the grab. After that, the illusory dream realm gradually dissipated. Suyu knew he was going to awaken from the pain. However, at this moment when the giant iron-winged bird crushed Suyu's head, it suddenly screeched shrilly. Suyu started. At the next instant, Suyu suddenly awakened and his head was drenched in sweat. Moonlight. No, not moonlight, it's blood. Suyu's eyes were wide open. He had heard it clearly. That iron-winged bird did kill him, but in the end, it was very angry because it seemed that after killing him, it didn't manage to obtain what it wanted. Blood. It killed me because of my blood. Blood. This was spoken in the language of the iron-winged bird race, so Suyu understood. In the past, he had similar experiences but couldn't understand anything because those monsters didn't speak in a language he knew. But this time, he understood. Blood. The other party wanted blood. What does this mean? My blood? But sometimes when I was injured in my dream, my blood also flowed. However, there were no reactions. What's going on exactly? Suyu felt a headache. He ignored the nightmare earlier and his mind spun quickly. It needs blood, but there's no way it can obtain any by killing me in the dream. My blood doesn't seem to be what it needs either. Could it be, it needs the blood of a fellow bird from the same race? Blood of iron-winged birds. If I had the blood of iron-winged birds, what would happen? A dream is still a dream. Even if I truly possess some bottles of their blood, can I really bring the blood into the dream? Suyu rubbed his temples, even his hands were drenched in sweat. He ignored all these. This dream seemed to become somewhat clearer. It had been so many years, and this was the first time he felt that the dream realm could be analyzed. He didn't learn the all races' languages for nothing. Even if he only understood a single sentence today, it was already sufficient. No, I have to do some testing no matter what. If I had the blood of the iron-winged birds, what kind of change would there be? Also, this dream is over. I'm afraid I won't encounter another iron-winged bird tomorrow. Will it still be useful if I use their blood? Never mind. Suyu abruptly sat up. He had decided that he would try it out. He had been hunted to death for so many years in the dream realm, and he was already very tired and annoyed about it. Hence, he had to resolve this dream as soon as possible or there might be a psychological barrier in the future. No matter who you were, it was very uncomfortable to be killed every day. I will head to the Xia Trading Company tomorrow morning to take a look. They sell everything there, and they might have the blood of iron-winged birds. After all, iron-winged birds are quite commonly seen in the all-skies battlefield. Everyone can purchase one if they want it. After deciding, Suyu was no longer in the mood to sleep. He was filled with anticipation for the sky to turn bright. He wanted to buy the blood of the iron-winged bird. Even if there was only a trace of hope to resolve the problem of the dream realm, it was good enough. He truly had enough of such experiences. They were too tormenting. Wuxia was spoken in the iron-winged bird language but stands for moonlight in the human language. MC thought the bird was speaking in the human language, causing the MC to be confused for a moment. Chapter 7. Chapter 7, The Reappearance of the Iron-Winged Bird. Xia Trading Company. This was the largest trading company in Great Xia and was also founded by the Xia clan in Great Xia Prefecture. A 5-story shopping center in the Commerce Street was the location of the Nanyuan branch of the Xia Trading Company. The first level sold common medicine, the second level sold weapons, the third level sold cultivation arts, the fourth level sold miscellaneous items from the myriad races, and the fifth level was a trading ground for the general public. Su Yu directly headed to the fourth level of the Xia Trading Company the moment he arrived. He had come here once before with Su Long. No matter what, Su Long was a cultivator at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm. However, the origin qi in Nanyuan wasn't sufficient, and there were no external objects that could aid him in cultivation. Hence, he had no way to continue cultivating if he didn't purchase some stuff here. The fourth level was divided into many regions. The Unknown Cultivation Arts region, Blood and Flesh of Demon Races region, Fragmented Treasures region, and Heavenly Ingredients and Earthly Treasure region. Naturally, this place was merely the Nanyuan branch. In truth, the majority of items sold here were at the level of the 1,000-pound realm. There was almost nothing at the level of the 10,000 stone realm. In the Blood and Flesh of Demon Races region, a beautiful female staff had a professional smile on her face as she passionately asked, "Sir, what do you need?" "Blood from iron-wing birds." "Iron-wing birds." The female staff pondered and soon replied, "Blood essence or ordinary blood?" For an incomparably large iron-wing bird, there was plenty of blood in its entire body. Other than a few drops that were essence blood, the rest were ordinary blood. There weren't many uses for ordinary blood, but essence blood could be used for a lot of things. Su Yu wasn't sure what he needed exactly. After hesitating for a while, he said, "Bring both of them out so I can look at them." "Sure." The female staff didn't ask any more questions. The iron-wing birds couldn't be considered a rare race, as they were air forces that were commonly seen in the all-skies battlefield. If it was another powerful flying race, the Nanyuan branch might not have the stock. Very soon, a male staff took out 2 transparent glass bottles from the glass counter. "This is the ordinary blood, and that is the essence blood. They are both types of blood of an iron-wing bird at the 1,000-pound level." The female staff saw Su Yu staring at the bottles, so she smiled and explained, "If Sir wants the blood of an iron-wing bird at the 10,000 stone realm, the Nanyuan branch doesn't have it in stock. You can only purchase that if you head to the Great Xia Prefecture. The 1,000-pound realm one will do." Su Yu couldn't use the 10,000 stone realm blood in any case. Even if he could use it, he was reluctant to purchase it. "How much is it?" "It's cheap for ordinary blood, 5,000 coins per bottle. As for essence blood, it's slightly more expensive. After all, an adult iron-wing bird won't be able to release more than 10 drops of essence blood. Hence, it's 50,000 coins for 1 drop of blood." Su Yu frowned slightly. "So expensive?" The 1,000-pound realm is considered cannon fodder on the battlefield, and there are casualties everywhere. Just a drop of essence blood is actually so expensive? The female staff's expression didn't change. She continued smiling. "Sir, your words are correct. However, it's very expensive to transport it from the all-skies battlefield to the Grand Xia Prefecture. We have to extract, maintain, sell it, there are many processes and also taxes. Hence, 50,000 isn't expensive." As she spoke, she continued, "If we were in the all-skies battlefield, this blood from a 1,000-pound realm iron-wing bird naturally wouldn't be worth a lot. If you were lucky, you could even pick it up casually. However, this place isn't the all-skies battlefield." Su Yu fell silent. Indeed, in the all-skies battlefield, the myriad races at the 1,000-pound realm weren't worth much money. The main point was that when a great battle occurred, who would have time to pick such things up? Even if one picked it up, would you be able to send your gains back? Only the Xia Trading Company or other commerce organizations with powerful backings would be able to transport it back. Hence, the price at the consumer's end naturally became expensive. "Give me a bottle of ordinary blood, and also a drop of essence blood." Suyu felt a little guilty. Fortunately, his father was no longer here. Otherwise, if his father knew he had just squandered over 50,000 to buy such stuff, he might be beaten to death. "Alright, card or cash?" "I will pay by card." Suyu's expression didn't change, but he was bleeding in his heart. 55,000 coins. The long-time savings of his father only had 1/6 left after a short while. "I'm merely guessing. If this is ineffective, I would have lost big." Upon thinking of this, Suyu hurriedly asked, "Oh right, do you guys buy back Ironwing Bird's blood here?" The female staff started a little but soon smiled and answered, "We do. The price for ordinary blood will be 1,000 coins per bottle and 10,000 coins per drop for blood essence." Suyu wanted to curse at someone. Although the Xia Trading Company was Xia Longwu's Xia clan's business, he still cursed it as a black shop. Buying back at 1/5 of the selling price. What a swindle. These people were merely following instructions and couldn't make decisions. It was useless even if he argued with them. After swiping his card, there was an additional box in his hand that contained 2 glass bottles. One of the bottles had a drop of golden-colored blood, which seemed to be churning, and one could faintly see a miniature ironwing bird flying inside. This was blood essence. For the essence blood of races that were similar to demons, they would be somewhat of use to cultivation regardless. If experts at the 1,000-pound realm consumed the ironwing bird's essence blood, it could help to improve the strength of their bodies. After the origin opening realm, humans would officially step into the pathway of cultivation. What the 1,000-pound realm cultivated was precisely the strength of one's body. It was useful to people at the 1,000-pound realm but useless to people at the origin opening realm. For the latter, if they consumed the essence blood of demon races, they would actually be injured instead. If this wasn't the case, there wouldn't be an example of someone whose body exploded after bathing in the blood of gods and devils. If one didn't open the 9 apertures, they would have no way to cycle origin chi, and swallowing essence blood would only burden their body, causing it to become a fatal poison. For heavenly ingredients like the sky origin fruit, they produced pure heavenly origin energy. This type of energy was more gentle, and it was completely different from the tyrannical origin energy. As Suyu pondered, the staff also reminded him, "Sir, if you have yet to reach the 1,000-pound realm, you must not consume the ironwing bird's essence blood, or things will be very dangerous." "I understand, thanks." As he spoke, Suyu casually asked, "Do you guys have sky origin fruits here?" "What?" The staff was a little dazed. She then replied, "Sorry, we don't have that here. In addition, I have never heard of a treasure named the sky origin fruit." Chapter 8. Chapter 8, The Reappearance of the Ironwing Bird, 2. Suyu didn't mind. There were too many races and too many heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures. He couldn't hope that a sales staff would know everything. It was already pretty good if they knew the stuff they were selling. What about origin chi liquid? "We don't have that. It's more difficult to store origin chi liquid as it dissipates easily. The cost of storing it is too high." The staff hurriedly explained, "The Grand Xia Prefecture does possess some, and we did purchase them in the early years as well. However, the cost was too high, and not many people were willing to buy it. Hence, we decided to stop ordering it." "Oh, what's the price?" "In the Great Xia Prefecture, it should cost about 100,000 for 1 drop. Right now, I'm not sure if there's any difference." Seeing that Suyu was asking these things, she quickly recommended, "Sir, do you want to increase your cultivation speed at the origin opening realm? Actually, we have many pills and treasures here that can aid you. For example, we have the origin opening pills, the fire pig's blood." Suyu rolled his eyes. Although these items would help, the help they provided was extremely small. If one's original cultivation speed was 100, they would help by increasing it to 101. He knew of these methods, but only a fool would do something so wasteful. Spending tens of thousands to purchase these useless things, just to gain an additional day's worth of cultivation. Naturally, some people still bought them, or no one would even bother to make them. Moreover, the number of people buying them was quite a lot. If the demand was that high, the price would also be expensive. Su Yu no longer asked. He then took the wooden box and left. He had gotten what he came for. As to whether he could use them or not, he had no idea. If he couldn't use them, he could simply sell them back. Although he would make a loss, he would still be able to get back some money. Below Yu's house, Chen Hao, who was currently waiting for Su Yu to come down, saw Su Yu coming back from afar. He then asked with a bewildered look on his face, "Yu, did you go out?" "I went to buy some stuff earlier." "Oh, let's go to school then." "Not going." Chen Hao had a look of grief and indignation on his face. "Not going? Earlier when I asked you, didn't you say that you want to go to school? Why are you not going now?" "I'm going to do self-revision at home." Su Yu chortled. "You go on ahead and cultivate well, try to reach the 4th level of origin opening as quickly as possible." Chen Hao was also at the 3rd level. Since this fellow couldn't apply for the civilization academies and the scientific research academies, if he failed to enter the war academies as well, he could only go to one of the internal affairs academies. Su Yu interrupted him. He then did his best to persuade Chen Hao in every way before finally sending him away. In the living room, Su Yu stared at the 2 bottles of blood as he frowned in silence. He bought the blood, but the crucial point was how should he use them? Swallow them? Blood from an expert at the 1,000-pound realm won't cause my body to explode, but I will surely suffer an injury. Should I wait for the dream realm and for the iron-winged bird to kill me? But I only encountered that once over 10+ years. Could it be that I still have to wait for over a decade? Su Yu felt a headache. He bought the blood on impulse, but after purchasing them, he began to hesitate. It was so rare for him to gain a little clue last night, so he had decided to act decisively and told himself that he would at most swallow it to give it a try if nothing else worked. But at this moment, Su Yu began to get cold feet. Injuries were very painful. Or should I smear the blood on my body? Su Yu took action the moment he thought of it. As long as he didn't swallow it, there shouldn't be a huge problem. He naturally couldn't experiment with blood essence casually. But it wasn't a big problem for ordinary blood. He then opened the bottle that contained ordinary blood and dabbed a little with his finger. After that, he wiped it on the back of his palm and waited for the effect. A few minutes later, Su Yu furrowed his brows. It was completely ineffective. The blood was slowly evaporating. No matter what, it cost 5,000 coins per bottle, and this stuff could be drunk slowly in small quantities. It wasn't essence blood, so if you drank it, there would still be some benefits in strengthening one's body and fitness. It was too much of a pity to waste this. It's useless. How about consuming a bit of it? Su Yu then licked the back of his palm and tasted a little of the blood. He waited for some time, but it was still ineffective. Ordinary blood is useless, or maybe, the method is wrong. Could it be that my understanding was mistaken from the start? Su Yu also felt a headache. These cost him tens of thousands of coins. Was he a little too impulsive? However, that dream realm had tormented him for far too long, so he wanted nothing more than to resolve it as soon as possible. If he could resolve it by spending tens of thousands of coins, he wouldn't care about the expenses. He only had a single drop of essence blood. However, this item was like a jade stone and there was basically no way for him to separate it. Hence, this item could only be swallowed. It was useless to smear it. Do I really have to swallow the essence blood? I'm only at the origin opening realm. Once I swallow it, I will most probably be greatly injured even if I don't die. I already have no hope to reach the 4th level on time, but now if I get injured from drinking this, let alone the 4th level, I may even have issues maintaining my cultivation base at the 3rd level. Su Yu was a little indecisive now. During these years, because of the influence of the nightmares, his personality was more mature and steady compared to his peers. He was also more unwavering. For things like taking a risk, if it wasn't for the fact his father was on the battlefield, he wouldn't have wanted to register for war academies. But the nightmare had tortured him for too many years. At this moment, he truly wanted to find out the exact situation of what was going on. It's just a drop, it won't kill anyone anyway. Why don't I give it a try? If I really get injured, at most I won't join a war academy. In any case, there isn't much hope since I'm only at the 3rd level of the origin opening realm. If I'm joining a civilization academy, it makes no difference whether I'm at the 3rd level, 2nd level, or even the 1st level. Su Yu then stared at the glass bottle in detail. The golden blood was a little blinding. He hesitated for a moment before taking the blood out. It fell into his hand like a piece of jadestone and was actually somewhat heavy. Su Yu clenched the drop of blood in his hand tightly, but it still showed no reaction. Should I wait for one more day and enter the dream? Maybe other monsters would also need the blood of the iron-winged bird. Or maybe, the blood of the iron-winged bird is only useful today. The dream realm would change every day roughly at midnight. If today passed, the iron-winged bird's blood might be useless. In that case, how many donkey years did he have to wait for? He might not encounter the iron-winged bird ever again in his lifetime, or maybe if he did, he might have to wait at least several decades. His breathing was a little disordered now. In that case, let's give it a try. I would at most be injured, and if I'm injured I'll just join a civilization academy. I will go and research the myriad races there, and there will come a day sooner or later where I analyze it completely and come out with the correct answer. As for the war academies, his hope of joining them wasn't that great. Su Yu then gritted his teeth as he pondered whether to choose to analyze the dream realm or join a war academy. Eventually, he chose to attempt to analyze the dream. If he managed to unravel the mystery of the dream realm, he might gain some unexpected harvests. He clutched the essence blood in one hand, while he took his communicator with the other and sent out a message. Come to my house, I've something to tell you. If I don't answer when you knock on the door, kick the door open. Su Yu sent the message to Chen Hao. If he was injured or fainted, he might be helpless. Hence, when Chen Hao came, he would be able to send him to the hospital. After making these arrangements, Su Yu gritted his teeth and swiftly stuffed the drop of essence blood into his mouth. Am I those people who are afraid of pain? Arg! A scream of misery rang out and Su Yu almost broke down and cried. It was so painful. Rumble. At the next instant, a roar rang out in his mind as Su Yu's vision darkened and turned topsy-turvy. At the next moment, USA. The gigantic iron-winged bird that was large enough to blot out the skies appeared once again. It was the same as last night, but there seemed to be some differences. This scene was something Su Yu had never encountered in the past 10+ years. He never had a repeated dream before, but he had one today. The iron-winged bird appeared once more. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, Booklet activated. USA. The huge iron-winged bird cried out, sounding even clearer than it did in the dream. At this moment, its appearance could be seen clearly. This time around, the dream was a little different. An extremely humongous golden drop of blood was floating in the air. It was the iron-winged bird's blood essence. The iron-winged bird that was hunting Su Yu seemed to have been attracted. At the next instant, its eyes looked toward the golden blood, looking to be in a bit of a daze. Very soon, the iron-winged bird gave up on hunting Su Yu, choosing to fly toward the golden blood in the air instead. The iron-winged bird flew increasingly faster and appeared in the blink of an eye before the golden blood. Then, with a cry, it swallowed the blood essence. Boom! At this moment, the iron-winged bird was like a brilliant golden sun, erupting forth with a dazzling glow from its body that illuminated the entire dream realm. Suyu also stared at the iron-winged bird with a look of anticipation. What was going to happen next? The blood essence really did work. Just as he was contemplating this, the iron-winged bird suddenly grew larger. It grew increasingly bigger, looking like it was going to explode. Suyu's countenance changed. As expected, a loud cry rang out and the dream realm started to collapse. After that, the iron-winged bird exploded to become countless golden light spots, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared within the dream realm. Suyu also exploded into pieces due to this explosion. In the last moment of the dream realm, a booklet that blotted out the skies and sun suddenly appeared. The pages of the booklet flipped through rapidly. All of the other pages were blank, but very soon, it stopped at the last page. The iron-winged bird's golden light spots integrated into it and instantly lit up the page. After that, the picture of an iron-winged bird appeared on the page. The dream realm stopped here and Suyu instantly woke up. HSS. It was painful. His head felt so painful as if it was going to explode. His entire body was also in pain, as if he had really been blasted into pieces earlier. Suyu woke up. At this moment, his gaze was flickering. The dream realm had been deciphered. A faintly discernible booklet then appeared in his mind. It was the booklet that had appeared in the dream realm. Dream realm turning into reality. Suyu's countenance became a little grim. It had been so many years. Deciphering the dream was supposed to be something that one should be happy about, but why would the dream turn into reality? To think that the booklet that had absorbed the iron-winged bird's light spots actually appeared in his mind. Was it a phantom image? Or was there really a booklet existing in his mind? Suyu thought about the booklet in his mind and at the next instant, the pages of the booklet started to flip. Very soon, it arrived at the page lit up by the iron-winged bird. Iron-winged bird. There were only these short 3 rows of words, and they weren't in the human language but the language of the iron-winged bird race instead. If Suyu hadn't learned the language before, he probably wouldn't be able to understand them. Suyu frowned. What was this booklet? This so-called need blood essence to activate, judging on the words alone, would require him to continue taking in blood essence. Activate what? Activate skills. The 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm should be referring to the blood essence he had absorbed earlier. It must have belonged to an iron-winged bird at the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm. This part was easy to understand. However, what did the things at the back represent? Suyu started to think rapidly. Could it be that as long as I have enough blood essence, I'll be able to activate the iron-winged bird's skills? Then will I be able to use the skills after activating them? Even if I can use them, what's the level of strength I can unleash? The 3rd level of the origin opening realm or the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm? How long can they be sustained for? Will there be side effects? And where did this booklet come from? Suyu's gaze kept on flickering. These dreams started more than 10 years ago. Could it be that this booklet had been in his mind since then? Who had placed it in his mind? Was there some kind of scheme? There were many strong races amongst the myriad races of all skies. Could it be the scheme of a certain race, wanting to make use of him to create internal chaos amongst the human race? Suyu couldn't help but think in this way. Some races amongst the myriad races of all skies were very treacherous, so it wasn't as if such matters hadn't occurred amongst the human race before. Many human race experts had been assassinated or influenced by the myriad races of all skies. Eventually, some would be enticed and led astray to become a member of the all races sect. But the human race has a population of over 10 billion, and I'm just one of most ordinary humans. Even if they were to entice me, they didn't have to administer a scheme for over 10 years on me, do they? Suyu still didn't understand. Then, he found it a little hard to suppress the tempting feeling in his heart. Should he give it a try? Moreover, this booklet felt very, very thick, and he had only activated one page. Did that mean that he could continue to activate the other pages? Su Yu was thinking about this when he suddenly felt a faint fluctuation. At the next moment, he felt a little in a daze. The fluctuation had come from the booklet's page and wasn't a language. It was a fluctuation that was similar to spiritual illustration. It can be activated. As long as it's from a race I've dreamed of before, I can activate a page from the booklet after finding their blood essence. However, I'm only at the origin opening realm now, so I have to consider my body's tolerance when swallowing blood essence. Su Yu understood it now. Take for example, he had felt that he was in great pain as if he was going to explode. This was when he had just taken the blood essence of an iron-winged bird from the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm. If Su Yu were to take in the blood essence of one that was at the 10,000 stone realm, he'd probably be crippled even if he didn't die. I understand it now. Su Yu mumbled. He understood a little now. Each of the dreams he had over the years represented a race. The activation of the booklet this time around wasn't because the iron-winged bird's blood essence had such a great effect. But as long as he had the blood essence of the race he had dreamed of, he would be able to activate the booklet. However, in the past, Su Yu didn't recognize those races, and he was just at the origin opening realm. How could he possibly go and take in blood essence? If it wasn't because he understood what the iron-winged bird was saying this time around, he wouldn't have taken the risk either. If he wasn't careful, he could die. Foundation Origin Art, Origin Gathering. Su Yu didn't think further into this and suddenly thought of the Foundation Origin Art that was mentioned in the 3rd row. The Origin Gathering Art was the iron-winged bird's Foundation Origin Art, and its only use was to absorb a portion of Origin Chi. Origin Gathering Art, need blood essence to activate? Su Yu's gaze flickered. What does it mean? Can I use blood essence to activate the Origin Gathering Art and absorb Origin Chi? But it's impossible for one to actively absorb Origin Chi during the Origin opening realm. One can only passively wait to temper them. He didn't pay too much attention to the racial skills aspect. Laceration and Iron Wing Slash were both basic skills of the iron wing birds. The human race had records on these skills based on the summary of their studies on the iron-winged birds. Hence, the blood essence activation might refer to letting Su Yu learn these skills or reach the power of one at the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm. However, it was different for the Origin Gathering Art. It could also be activated with blood essence. But what was this? The human race was unable to actively absorb Origin Chi if they hadn't reached the 1,000-pound realm. Hence, the effect of the was to let the human race gather Origin Chi, making the Origin Chi density around them higher. This would then allow the duration of their passive tempering of the origin to be longer, and the effects would be better. Origin Gathering Art. Su Yu suddenly felt insuppressible agitation. If he could activate the Origin Gathering Art, would that mean that he could initiate the absorption of Origin Chi despite being at the Origin opening realm? The crucial reason people tended to be stuck for very long on the 9th level of the Origin opening realm was because they couldn't actively absorb Origin Chi into their bodies. The human body was innately unable to form a connective cycle for its apertures and acupoints. Then what if one could actively absorb Origin Chi? But, there's a need to deliberate on the consequences. What are the consequences of absorbing Origin Chi? And how much blood essence is required for the activation? If it's just a drop of blood essence, how long can it be sustained for? How are the effects? These things are very expensive, costing 50,000 coins per drop. If the effects can only be sustained for a few minutes with each drop, then there's no need to waste the money on them at all. Countless thoughts flashed in Su Yu's mind. Blood essence was required to activate the pages for the other races as well. Where on earth was he going to get his hands on so much blood essence? With so many thoughts clouding up in his mind, Su Yu suddenly felt that his brain couldn't work well. Maybe I should test it out a little. Another thing is, where did this thing come from? Should I go ask the teachers? Suyu gave it some thought and then quickly rejected this idea. Even if this item was planted by someone, the teachers wouldn't know about it either. Their realms were too weak and this wasn't something they could come into contact with. For this thing to be undetected for over 10 years, even one at the soaring realm might not know about it, let alone those at the 1,000-pound or 10,000-stone realm. It's useless to just think about it. I should try it out. Suyu was thinking about this when a loud sound came from the door. At the next moment, Chen Hao swung his bag and bellowed, "I've informed the wind arrest hall. If you aren't afraid to die, then you can continue to stay. The building is filled with experts. Hurry up and scram." Suyu was stunned. Chen Hao swung his bag and made a fuss. After his loud bellow, commotions came out from both upstairs and downstairs. Very soon, someone upstairs bellowed, "What happened? Did the B***stars from the All Races sect come? What audacity! Surround them." Suyu snapped out of it and quickly shouted, "It's nothing. It's nothing. Old Master Zhou, Chen Hao is just playing a joke on me. So sorry. So sorry." Very soon, an old man appeared with a kitchen knife in his hand and pushed away Chen Hao who was blocking the door. Seeing that Suyu was alright, he heaved a sigh of relief and said, "I thought that the B***stars from the All Races sect have come. Your father has just left, so you should be more careful. If there are any problems, call us at any time." After saying that, he slapped Chen Hao's head. "Fuck, why were you shouting? If nothing is wrong, don't go shouting around. If people from the All Races sect really came and we didn't take things seriously next time, wouldn't it bring harm instead?" The old man was very angry. Of course, his anger wasn't directed at Suyu but Chen Hao. "Young lad from the Chen clan, if you make fake news again, I'll have your father drag you downstairs and hang you up an **kid to give you a whacking." Chen Hao wore a long face and wanted to explain that it wasn't him. It was Suyu. That guy suddenly sent him a message to ask him to break into his house. How could he not think too much into things? He was maligned. Suyu got up, still feeling a bit of pain. But thankfully, it was just some soreness. It could be that most of the powers from the blood essence had been absorbed by the booklet, so he wasn't actually hurt. Ignoring everything else, Suyu hurriedly apologized. After that, Old Master Zhou looked consoled and couldn't help but pat Chen Hao on the head. Chen Hao felt like crying. Suyu also smiled bitterly inside and quickly asked, "Did you really inform the wind arrest hall?" "I didn't. I was just trying to scare them off." Chen Hao felt upset. He didn't know if something had really happened, so how could he possibly go inform the wind arrest hall? "That's good then." Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. Chen Hao then said, feeling upset, "What's so good about it? Why did you send me that kind of message? I thought that something had happened to you." When all the aunties and uncles staying nearby saw that nothing was wrong, they also left in succession. Suyu heaved a sigh of relief and pulled Chen Hao into the house. He then closed the door and said, "I felt a little giddy earlier and was afraid that I might faint. That's why I sent you a message. Didn't I ask you to knock first? Oh, are you alright?" Chen Hao didn't continue to pursue the matter but said worriedly, "It couldn't be because you're too hungry, right? Uncle Su has left. Do you not have food to eat? Why not come to my place for meals in the future? My father asked me to call you over previously, but I didn't say anything for fear that you might feel embarrassed." Suyu was caught between laughter and tears. Would I starve myself to death? However, he did feel a little touched. Although this person was a little talkative and a little insensitive, he was quite concerned towards Suyu, his friend. "It's fine. It's just that I cultivated the for too long last night so I felt a little uncomfortable when I woke up this morning. But I'm fine now." "That's good then. Chen Hao heaved a sigh of relief and quickly said, "Then are you going to school today? Why don't you give the teacher a call and say that you're sick? Tell the teacher that I'm accompanying you to see the doctor. Can you help me to apply for leave as well?" The touching feeling Su Yu had a moment ago disappeared. This guy was hopeless. He didn't dare to skip class and wanted to ask Su Yu to apply for leave on his behalf. Scram! After chiding him jokingly, Su Yu thought for a moment and said, "I'm not taking leave, so I'm going to school today. I happen to have something to do at the academy." "You're going too?" Chen Hao felt a little puzzled. "Why are you so fickle? When I asked you earlier, you said you wouldn't go, but now you say you are. Are smart people all so fickle-minded?" Su Yu couldn't be bothered with him. The reason he wanted to go to the academy was to see if there were any channels or ways for him to get his hands on some iron-wing bird blood essence or some other blood essences. He wanted cheaper ones. The Great Xia Trading Company was too black-hearted. One drop for 50,000. With the bit of money Su Yu had left, it would be far from sufficient. Chapter 10. Chapter 10, Fire of Civilization. In the Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy, Chen Hao went to the preparatory class since he had to go for his lessons. Su Yu, on the other hand, headed straight for the Resources Department. "Su Yu, you want to redeem Ironwing Bird Blood Essence?" The Resources Department's administrator asked, feeling a little surprised. 1,000-pound realm blood essence is only useful for those in the 1,000-pound realm. Not only is it not helpful for those in the origin opening realm, but it's also poison. What do you want to redeem this for? "Teacher Zhang, can I redeem them?" Su Yu smiled and said, "You know that I've been studying about the myriad races. The Ironwing bird is a race that I study more about, so I want to procure some of their blood essences for research. However, they are too expensive, so I came to the academy to ask. It is possible to do so. You've obtained the qualification certificates for 18 all-races languages. Other than the 3 compulsory languages, there are rewards for the other 15 languages. So, you got a total of 15 merit points for them and 3 merit points for reaching the 3rd level of the origin opening realm, coming up to a total of 18 merit points." The Resources Department's administrator checked the records and quickly said, "But you've spent 6 points in the library, so you're left with 12 points. I know." Su Yu smiled and asked, "How much blood essence can I redeem with the remaining 12 points? You want to redeem this? This is really not useful. It's too much of a waste." The teacher in charge of administration couldn't help but remind Su Yu, "The 1,000-pound realm ironwing birds are considered very strong for you, but they are merely cannon fodder in the all-skies battlefield. Merit points can be used in all major academies and can even be accumulated to redeem invaluable resources in high-grade academies. You can accumulate 18 points easily when you're in a mid-grade academy, getting 1 point for learning one all-races language. But it won't be that easy to earn points after you're in a high-grade academy. It's not worth it to redeem these. When you get to a high-grade academy, you might need to use merit points to redeem some secret information, advanced cultivation arts, and even some courses. These merit points can be used in the military as well. I know these things too, but I'm left with no choice, all right?" Su Yu smiled bitterly. He knew about these. But wasn't it because he didn't have money? Well, he did have some, over 200,000 coins, which wouldn't be a problem for him to purchase 5 drops of Ironwing Bird's blood essence with. However, he still needed living expenses. People in the origin opening realm didn't have much means of earning money, so he still had to keep some money aside to use in the high-grade academy. Merit points were one of the most important trading systems other than Onping coins. Onping coins could be used to purchase many things, but there were also many things that they couldn't buy. High-grade strategic resources, high-grade cultivation arts, and even some legacies required merit points for one to gain access to them. Merit points represented the human race's contribution to mankind. If one didn't have any contribution to the human race, then even if they had a lot of money, they might not be able to buy certain things. The earning and expenditure of merit points were all recorded, including the initial accumulation of merit points from the very beginning. For example, Suyu had obtained 18 merit points. Even if he spent all 18 points, the records would continue to accumulate his points starting from this 18-point mark. After Suyu reached 100 points, he would be able to get greater access. This also prevented many humans who only had money but did not make many contributions to the human race from privately buying merit points and rarer strategic resources. Even if some rich people managed to buy over 10,000 worth of merit points, their initial level was not high enough, so they wouldn't be able to buy certain stuff with those points. Hearing that, the Resources Department's administrator sighed and said, "Then I won't try to persuade you any further. Actually, it's still too early for you to be doing research now. Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy's conditions are lacking and can't support the research of students. After you go to a high-grade academy, you'll be able to apply for subsidies for certain research. Also, the higher-ups will give out resources to help you in conducting research. The iron-winged bird is commonly seen in the all-skies battlefield, and the value of research on them isn't high either. If it were up to me, I'd say that you should change to another research target." Suyu smiled and said, "What you said is true too. Then does the academy have Lu fish blood essence?" The administrator looked a little sheepish. "We don't. Those things are in the D Mountain realm and aren't often seen in the all-skies battlefield. Moreover, even the weakest of them who go to the all-skies battlefield are at the 10,000 stone realm or even the soaring realm. The Great Xia Civilization Academy definitely has their essence blood, but we can't procure them." That ended the conversation. Suyu could recognize a minority of the races he had dreamed of in the past, out of which, Lu Fish was one of them. However, they were at least from the 10,000 stone realm. If he were to take 10,000 stone realm blood essence right now, even if that booklet could absorb most of the energy, his physical body wouldn't be able to bear it. He might end up exploding. As for the blood essences of the other races, he didn't dare to take them recklessly. If the booklet couldn't absorb the blood essences of the races he hadn't dreamed about, his body might not be able to endure it. After much thought, the iron-winged bird's blood essence was still the safest for now. "Teacher, let me redeem some then." "How many drops do you want?" "1 merit point can get you 1 drop. It's really not that worth it." The administrator continued to remind him, "Are you thinking that the merit points don't seem to be worth too much? The face value of 1 point is only 10,000 coins, but some things can't be measured with money. You know what I mean." "Thank you for your reminder, teacher." Suyu quickly nodded and said, "I'll just redeem 3 drops first. If it isn't enough, then I'll come back for more." "Sigh, I don't know what to say to you." Seeing that Suyu wasn't willing to listen to his advice, the administrator felt a little helpless and made arrangements for someone to go bring the blood essence over. While waiting, he gave it some thought before reminding, "Your father went to the all-skies battlefield 2 days ago. The academy knows about this matter as well. With your father not around at home, you should be more careful now. Those guys from the all-races sect are very active in the Great Xia Prefecture. You should have heard about this as well." "Amen, but there shouldn't be any relations with me, right?" "How are there no relations?" The administrator reproached, "It doesn't hurt to be careful. Those B***stars from the all-races sect don't primarily target the experts or geniuses, at least, not cultivating geniuses. They target the sages. Although you aren't considered to be a sage, you're one of the few potential candidates the Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy has for the Great Xia Civilization Academy. There's a limit to the destruction experts can cause, but the destruction that sages can cause is limitless. The reason the human race can hold its place for several centuries in the all-skies battlefield isn't just relying on those unrivaled experts but also the sages in the back line." Chapter 11. Chapter 11, Fire of Civilization, 2. Amongst the top-notch researchers in the civilization academies, who haven't been almost assassinated before. These people deciphered the cultivation arts of the myriad races, studying the other races' civilizations in greater depths, increasing the number of human race experts. This allowed the human race to be able to deal with the myriad races better. The administrator continued with some admiration, they've silently contributed a lot, and their amount of contribution doesn't lose out to any unrivaled experts. However, most of them lack the necessary battle prowess, so while they are working in the backlands, they tend to become the targets of the myriad races. Thus, assassination attempts on them are common. The reason why those guys from the all races sect create destruction within the human race isn't just to assassinate individual experts. Their main targets are the sages. Although you haven't entered a civilization academy and aren't considered to have grasped many languages, you're still young. You might be even more dangerous compared to those few seedlings cultivating in the academies. Those at the 4th or 5th level of the origin opening realm might not even be worth them making a move on. How long does it take for one at the origin opening realm to cultivate to the soaring realm? But the sages might be able to decipher a cultivation art book in 10 or 20 years, uncovering their flaws and finding targeted ways to kill some races. So, they are a lot more dangerous compared to an expert at the soaring realm. Suyu smiled bitterly. Wasn't this too much of an exaggeration? Although he had grasped 18 all races languages, it was too little when compared to the myriad races of all skies. Moreover, most of what he had learned were commonly used words. Don't take things lightly. Be careful and pay more attention. When you encounter danger, ask for help at any time. The Nanyuan city has also strengthened its patrolling, and the Wind Arrest Hall has started to reinforce the security. Even a group of Longwu guards based in Nanyuan city have started patrolling here. If you encounter trouble, shout out loudly and call for help. In at most tens of seconds, someone will definitely rush over. Seeing that the administrator was speaking very seriously, Suyu quickly nodded and said, "Teacher, don't worry, I know that. Moreover, Nanyuan city is so small, so those guys might not necessarily come over here. Even if they did, to be honest, I don't think that I am in the queue on their list." That's true too. The administrator smiled. But you mustn't be too careless about this. You must be careful especially when you go over to Teacher Lu's place. Amen. Suyu was a little stunned. Teacher Lu. Don't misunderstand. I mean that Teacher Lu is the best teacher in all races languages in the Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy. Amongst every 10 students from our academy who make it into civilization academies, 8 or 9 of them were taught by him. Teacher Lu is definitely the all races sect's greatest target. If they came to Nanyuan, he'd be the first person they'd want to assassinate, not the academy head or the city lord. Teacher Lu is a spark that lights up civilizations. At the very least, this is what he means to Nanyuan. This is why I'm reminding you to be careful. Suyu's countenance changed. Teacher, is Teacher Lu in danger then? It's fine, you don't have to be too worried. The academy head has personally gone to protect Teacher Lu. Members of the Longwu guards are also protecting him in the dark along with the Wind Arrest Hall's small team of men. I'm just reminding you to be careful on the way when you go and look for Teacher Lu. Suyu heaved a sigh of relief. The Teacher Lu who the administrator mentioned was someone who had taught Suyu. Almost all of the 18 all races languages Suyu had learned were taught by this old teacher. It was just as the administrator had said. Teacher Lu might not be considered much to the Great Xia Prefecture, but in Nanyuan, especially in the Nanyuan Mid-Grade Academy, he was truly the person who disseminated civilization. He had been teaching for so many years and produced over 100 students who joined civilization academies. Half of those students had graduated and were making contributions to the Great Xia Prefecture or even the entire human race. The effects of their contributions might not be great, but the passing down of the human race's legacy depended on the people in this tier. If the All Races sect came to Nanyuan City to assassinate targets, then it was true that the importance of Teacher Lu was higher than the city lord. As the two of them spoke, one of the staff brought the Ironwing bird's blood essences over. 3 drops. After redeeming 3 drops of essence blood, Suyu was left with 9 merit points. His heart ached a little over this. Over the years, he had gone to the library to browse through countless documents and only spent 6 points. Hence, it was too extravagant for him to spend 3 points in one go. After taking the bottle containing the blood essence, Suyu then asked, "Teacher, did Teacher Lu come to the academy during these few days?" "He's working as per normal. He was asked to go to the city lord's residence to stay low for a while, but he wasn't willing to do so. They have no choice but to let him continue working. I'll go pay a visit to Teacher Lu then." Suyu had planned on going home to test things out after he had gotten his stuff, but he had a change of mind. He decided to go pay Teacher Lu a visit first and ask him some questions while Teacher Lu was there. In the teacher's office, Lu Wenyan, who was past his 60s, was writing down records. He spoke without raising his head. "Academy head, you don't have to keep on following me. I'm just in the academy. There's not going to be any danger here." Next to him, the academy head, who was also past his 60s, chuckled and said, "I'm not disturbing you, so why are you trying to chase me away? The sound of your breathing is a disturbance to me." The academy head was caught between laughter and tears. Very soon, he heard Lu Wenyan giving him another blow, saying, "Moreover, you've only just entered the 10,000 stone realm. Given how weak you are, it's actually useless even if you're here." The old academy head was very helpless. Was he very weak? Maybe a little. For someone past his 60s, it was really not considered impressive to have just entered the 10,000 stone realm. However, they weren't on the front lines, and this was the Nanyuan city, the smallest city amongst all 28 cities under the Great Xia Prefecture's jurisdiction. Since he wasn't the city lord but just the academy head of a mid-grade academy, why did he need to be so strong? The real experts had either gone to the Great Xia or the All-Skies battlefield. He was actually considered quite good amongst those who remained in Nanyuan city. "Sai, you think I want to stay by your side?" The old academy head said, "Isn't it all because you're too important despite being such an old guy? In the past 20 years, a total of 320 students have joined the civilization academies from Nanyue City. On average, there were 16 students per year, and half of them were taught by you. How could you not be targeted? It's not to that extent." Lu Wenyan smiled as well. "After all, this is just a small Nanyuan city, and only a few people here got into civilization academies each year. It's not worth mentioning to the entire Great Xia Prefecture. Why would the all-races sect target me because of this? It's hard to say. Anyway, you're more important than me. I'm just a weak person in the 10,000 stone realm, and they probably can't be bothered with me, thinking that I'm not worth killing." The academy head made a joke, but this was the truth as well. People in the 10,000 stone realm weren't considered weak, but they wouldn't be able to bring much impact on the All-Skies battlefield. Killing a 10,000 realm individual in his 60s in the backline might require them to suffer some casualties. The members of the all-races sect wouldn't commit to such a deal that would only bring them losses. The two of them were chatting when the academy head's ears twitched a little. He then quickly smiled and said, "Suyu is here. This lad is a lot more promising than his father. Don't belittle Su Long like that. Wasn't it just because he rejected your offer to come to the academy to be the head of the guards? Do you have to carry a feud for so long?" Lu Wenyan also broke into a smile, looking up and saying, "That Su Long still has hot blood in him. I could tell from many years back. He isn't willing to retreat from the front lines just like that. Previously, he wanted to get into the Longwu Guards but only gave up because there wasn't any hope to do so." The old academy head sniffed and said, "It's clear that he can't get in. He might have some chance if he was at the 9th level of the 1,000-pound realm before the age of 30, but how old is he now? How could he hope to get into the Longwu Guards? This was unless he was at the 9th level of the 10,000 stone realm. That's still better than you. If he doesn't die in the all-skies battlefield, he'll probably be in the 10,000 stone realm in another 2 years. Lu Wenyan said this, then smiled and continued, Suyu isn't bad either. Although he isn't considered a genius, after he gets into the Great Xia Civilization Academy, he'll also become a part of the mainstay for fighting against the myriad races in the future. This pair of father and son is stronger than the both of us. The old academy head nodded but soon sighed. If it wasn't because I hurt my body's foundation in the all-skies battlefield, I wouldn't have retreated to the rear and become this lousy academy head. Things are not interesting at all. It's not bad that you managed to survive and come back. There aren't many soldiers on the all-skies battlefield who haven't hurt their foundations. Under those circumstances, if they don't manage to forcibly make a breakthrough to the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm, they aren't even worthy of being cannon fodder. Lu Wenyan also sighed. A large number of soldiers on the all-skies battlefield probably had no hopes of reaching the soaring realm in their lifetime. This was something that no one could do anything about. That drat place was filled with horrifying massacres. If new soldiers didn't make rapid breakthroughs, they'd die in just a few days. Who could have the leisure of thinking about other things? The war academies picked the genius youngsters away and the ordinary people could only struggle to survive. As they spoke, Suyu entered. Lu Wenyan broke into a smile. He was very satisfied with Suyu as a student. The latter was able to bear with hardship and was patient. Although he wasn't considered a top-notch genius, the human race didn't just need geniuses. It also needed good seeds like him who could make steadfast progress. Chapter 12. Chapter 12, Methods of Civilization Academies. Teacher, Academy Head. When Suyu entered the teacher's office and saw that both Lu Wenyan and the academy head were around, he quickly greeted them. Suyu, you've come. Lu Wenyan smiled, being a lot warmer toward Suyu than he was to the academy head. He beamed and asked, Your father has gone to the all-skies battlefield. Have there been any inconveniences in your life recently? No, everything is quite all right. Suyu thanked Lu Wenyan and then quickly said with a hint of worry, Teacher, I heard that recently, there might be members of the all-races sect coming to Nanyuan. It's fine. Lu Wenyan said nonchalantly and then smiled faintly. Putting aside the fact that they might not necessarily come, so what if they were to come? If they dare make a move against me, they will have to suffer great casualties, using many lives to exchange for this old man's life. It's hard to say who is the one winning and who is the one suffering the losses here. Lu Wenyan got up and looked out of the window, smiling as he said, when encountering big matters, one must calm down and not panic. Suyu, in these few years, what I admire the most about you is that you are able to remain calm even in the face of troubling matters. This is your foundation that makes you stronger than others. Don't be disturbed by some small mess. After Lu Wenyan spoke, he then quickly looked toward the academy head and said, You can go out for now. I have some things to talk to Suyu about. The academy head smiled. This time around, he didn't insist and quickly left the office. After the academy head left, Lu Wenyan stopped smiling. He gestured for Suyu to take a seat. Suyu found it a little strange and didn't ask much. After that, he took a seat opposite Lu Wenyan. Suyu, I heard that you signed up for the test to enroll in the War Academy. Amen. You want to go to the War Academy. Am I right to say that? Suyu was stunned slightly and then explained, No, I'm just making additional preparations. Don't lie to me. Your teacher isn't that stupid. It's because your father went to the all-skies battlefield, so you want to go there too, right? Suyu fell silent. Lu Wenyan smiled faintly and said, Stupid. Even if you were to go to a war academy and cultivate to a level where you can protect your father, how long would that have to take? Suyu fell silent. He had thought about this problem before, but he didn't wish to ponder too much into it. Moreover, he had an additional booklet in his mind, and it was hard to say how things would turn out. Do you know who are the peak-level experts in the human race? The Great Xia King, Great Zhou King, Great Ming King. Lu Wenyan nodded slightly, then quickly asked again, then do you know the experts that appeared after the Anping dynasty was founded? Before Su Yu could say anything, Lu Wenyan smiled and said, the most famous and well-known ones are probably the various prefecture lords from the respective prefectures, as well as the chief generals from the various large war battalions. Then do you know that 30% of these people came from civilization academies? Su Yu was stunned for a moment. 30% of them came from civilization academies? Didn't the civilization academies nurture? As if knowing what Su Yu was thinking, Lu Wenyan laughed softly and said, you think that all people from the civilization academies should be like me, only knowing some all races languages and being weaker in battle prowess, easily toppling over whenever there's a gust of wind? You're wrong. Lu Wenyan said seriously, I didn't tell you these things in the past because you haven't reached the level to know about them yet. The truth is, there are many experts or even peak-level experts in the civilization academies who are stronger than those in war academies. How can we, who research the all-skies civilizations, be so weak? If that was the case, how would we be able to understand cultivation arts and secret realms that are on a deeper level? Lu Wenyan's gaze was burning. I'm just an insignificant failing student from the Civilization Academy, but do you think that I'm really weak? Amen. Su Yu opened his mouth but hesitated. That's too weak. You want to say that I'm only at the 7th level of the 1,000-pound realm and that I'm too weak? Su Yu blinked, having the feeling that he had been seen through by his teacher. That's right. I'm able to see through a little of what you're thinking. When Su Yu heard this, he was instantly shocked. You must be surprised, right? Lu Wenyan smiled and said, you're too weak, that's why you almost have no defense set up when you're in front of me. Take note of this in the future and restrain your thoughts a little. The reason I'm telling you this is because I hope that you won't choose your weaknesses and give up on your strengths, giving up on entering the civilization academies and choosing the war academies. Lu Wenyan said solemnly, I previously thought that you'd naturally get to learn about these things after you got into the Civilization Academy. But I have to tell you about this in advance to prevent you from choosing the wrong path. There are many routes in the world, with different races having different paths. When it all goes down to the root, it's just taking in origin chi, tempering the body, and strengthening oneself. There are two parts to strengthening oneself. One is the physical body aspect and the other part is one's will, or it can be called one's mental spirit. The will cannot be seen and it's very hard to make it strong. Therefore, most people start by strengthening their bodies before they work on their wills. We are different. Lu Wenyan smiled. People like us come into contact with many civilizations of the myriad races, so we have broad visions and powerful wills. Therefore, we take the reverse route and strengthen the will first before the body. When your will becomes strong, the strengthening of the physical body will become a lot simpler. Of course, this is very difficult. Lu Wenyan said in a solemn voice, when the will becomes strong, it can reinforce the physical body, not harming the body when taking in more origin chi. This requires time and even more so, a solid foundation. For some masters from civilization academies, when their will get so strong that they are dazzling like the sun, they can enter the soaring realm from the 1,000-pound realm within a day or might be even stronger. Different paths lead to the same outcome. The final path for both the civilization academies and war academies is to strengthen oneself and make the entire human race stronger. It's easy to cultivate the physical body but hard to do so for the will. It is harder for the civilization academies to reach this step, so few people mention these things. This is to avoid some people from overestimating themselves and taking the wrong paths. Lu Wenyan looked at the stunned Su Yu and said, smiling, you're very surprised, right? Actually, there's nothing to be surprised about. You've studied the myriad races of all skies and although your study of them isn't deep, you should know some things. For example, the dream demon race whose language you've learned. You know that they are vague and intangible, and that it's almost impossible to see their actual bodies.